This broadcast is brought to you by Logitech G, Motorsport Australia, Play Seat, The Gamesman, OG Gear, SimSpeed TV, Speed Cafe, and the Australian Sim Racing Group.
We are gaming fanatics. Our goal has never been to just play games. We think it's much better to feel like you're actually in the game. This feeling is what drives us as we create world-class gaming chairs. Our one aim, give you a brand new gaming experience. Help you move in perfect sync with everything on screen. Make sure you're having a ton of fun. It took us decades to achieve this, and we're still not satisfied. Every day, we wake up to get better. We'll never stop designing the very best to help you be your best. When it's all said and done, our job's only done if you're in full flow and focused on your victory. May you win, and win big.
Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and it is time for V8 Supercars to grace your screens once again. Welcome to the circuit of Spa-Francorchamps. This week, V8 Supercars go racing in the simulated world just a few days before the 24 hours of Spa starts. It's nearly appropriate to be here at this time of year, right in the middle of the international endurance calendar. But it isn't going to be endurance racing here tonight. It will be 32 laps of V8 Supercar action from the Belgian circuit. And this track, much like Sebring, brings drama each and every year. Podium positions in the last 2 years have been decided by post-race penalties. Does it get any more interesting than that? It's also the place that we farewell the Gen 2 chassis. So this place, I think you're going to struggle to get it off the calendar in the future. But tonight, there is another trick to getting around this place and acing that race. Scott Rankin and Stephen Sandman Clark to bring you all the action once again. And I tell you what, Sandman, we're going to be talking fuel numbers, and we're going to be talking them for 32 laps.
It's crazy, isn't it? We thought we had enough drama at the last round where we were dealing with fuel saving, and tonight, man, the difficulties that these drivers and teams have got to deal with, they've reduced the size of the fuel tank. So we're talking 53, just over 53 litres. So these teams to go 32 laps are going to have to either save fuel, prey on a safety car, or maybe make an extra third stop. So we know they're making 2 stops, but it's going to be a stretch. Let's talk about the fuel. So these are the numbers that we've got to play with. You look at that, and it's like, my goodness, not enough fuel there in the tank to go the distance, but that's where the strategy comes into it. Your different options to play out. But like I said, trying to save fuel around here is going to be tricky. And the things we spoke about last week, or the last round, I should say, at Belle Isle, when we saw what TTR were doing and the dramas that they had, let's show to some of that vision that happened if you weren't with us for the last round. This was Madison Down doing his absolute best trying to hold off Jared Filsell. He was doing the team game, saving fuel. These guys inevitably came together, and unfortunately it took out Jared Filsell and Madison Down for that race. So Jared had been absolute dominant throughout the 2025 season, and that was his first race where he didn't take the win. So won 4 on the trot, and unfortunately he missed out on race 5 because of that drama. But there was no ill feeling. TTR rolled the dice, and it actually played out for them with Brady Myers taking the win, Josh Anderson in second, and Madison was on target, but unfortunately that coming together, he was doing his best to save fuel, trying his best to hold up Jared as much as he could to protect his teammates. So will we see that tonight? Because that will be very interesting. And that's all the talk in the paddock, isn't it, Scotty? It's all fuel at the moment.
Yeah, and I went through and I sort of chatted to all the teams and had a little bit of a chat. Who's thinking about doing what? Well, I've got some data, but, you know, the privileged position of being a commentator, I get to have a look and I get to walk through some of these garages and have a chat. For you watching along at home, if you don't know these hallowed hills, they are supreme. The longest GP racing circuit on the iRacing platform. Actually, sorry, we have to correct that. The Ben Motorsports Park GT circuit took that title just a couple of weeks ago. This is now the second longest GP circuit, and by some margin, just a lick, 4 meters in fact, over the 7 kilometers worth of distance here, 19 turns. The big thing that strikes me is look at all that straight line running. That is where they're going to be burning those gas. A lot of medium to high speed corners as you run from the La Source hairpin through Eau Rouge and Radion, some of the most famous corners in car racing. The first guys that managed to pin the throttle and go through there in a Formula 1 car flat out, boy, they were brave. We won't be sneering those speeds in the V8 Supercars here tonight. The Lacombe chicane, this spot, always a spot for drama and trouble. At Malmedy at the crest of the hill, the run down the Rivage, such a tricky off-camber corner, the hairpin at turn 8. Well, the corner with no name, except for it has 3 names. No Name, Speaker's Corner, and Jackie X Bend at turn 9. Huon, double gauche, literally French for double left, is 10 and 11 there. The Lafania chicane at 12 and 13. Campus and Stavelo all the way down the bottom of the hill. Then it's the big old long run back up the hill to Blanchimont. That's bravery right there. The tip in at one of the highest speed portions of the circuit, the 17, and the bus stop chicane, the site where James Scott got into the back of ERT's Ethan Grigol in a podium 1, 2, 3 absolute barnstorming affair over the last couple of laps. That would lead to James Scott receiving a post-race 5-second penalty. He wouldn't finish on the podium as a result of that, and that's how it was all decided last year. But yeah, it's these corners are important, and this is a track that I actually really, really like because of that. It's fast, it's flowing, there's overtaking. This is going to be an interesting one here tonight, even if there was no fuel saving.
Yeah, absolutely. Had the privilege of cutting a few laps around this racetrack through the week, and it's really a pleasure to drive in these supercars. You get a well hooked up race car around here, and it is an absolute blast.
Yeah. Important to note, though, as we list our way through the top 10 of the championship standings, we finally saw the chink in the armour of Jared Filsell last time out. It was a fuel save race. Could we see a little bit more of that here tonight? Josh Anderson sits second in the championship. He is back to his very best for Trans-Tasman Racing and leads their way. Chiefs Esports Club's James Scott, 3 teams inside the top 3. When was the last time that we actually said that? It's been a very long while. Andrew Gilliam's finally finding form. Zach Rattray White, new for Eclipse Sim Sports, new colours over there, inside the top 5. The best of those drivers just ahead of teammate Damon Woods. Brady Myers, but the big one is a driver that's going to be missing for the rest of the season. 8th placed and best of the Evolution Racing team, Robert Gibbs. Guess what? Not here tonight, won't be here for the next 3 rounds, and Robbie said, look, that's probably my season done. He's going to be walking away from the championship for the next rest of the season. The reason for that, received a suspended 3-round penalty. Remember all the way back to Sebring, post-race, man, the drama back at Sebring. Got bumped out of the way by Dylan Rudd on the last lap, last corner, was gonna finish in second, didn't finish inside the top 5. He got bumped all the way out. He was unhappy with how he was treated by the Chiefs Esports Club driver back then. He roughed him up after the finish line to show that he was unhappy. Well, stewards had a look at it, said, it doesn't warrant an in-race penalty. It doesn't warrant a points penalty, but we do want something on the record. It was a 3-race round penalty. Any further discretions throughout the year would trigger that. Detroit Bilal was the last round. Received a drive-through penalty for instance back there. Robbie Gibbs done for 3 races. That's drama. That's the world of racing, and this is one that'll divide a lot of people. I've already received a few opinions on both sides of the margin, and it's sport at the end of the day, isn't it? We're always going to see things differently.
That's right. It doesn't matter whether you're on the field kicking the goal or if you're the umpire. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, the rules have been set in place. The rules weren't made up, this week, last week. They were put in place a long time before the season started. Do I agree with it? Probably not. But at the end of the day, the rules are the rules. So it's unfortunate that something like that has taken him out of the next 3 races. And look, it's heartbreak for ERT too. You touched on it. One of the best performing drivers at ERT, and now he's sitting on the sidelines. And got a feel for him. But now I guess we sort of look forward, and like you said, there's going to be mixed feelings about it, no doubt.
Well, I reflected. Actually, when I found out about that, I went back and actually watched the footage back from that round. And I said at the time, my exact words were, "He's on the line here. I want to see the guy voice he's unhappy." We all want to see that. We all love the sport and we all love the racing because of the drama, because of the moments. And if we're not allowed to sort of show from a driving perspective that we're annoyed with somebody else, what's the point? If all we're going to do is sit out there and I'm the faster driver, so I lead the whole time, minding a piece of goose, that's not V8 supercar racing. And I liked the fact that he sort of roughed him up a bit and said, I'm not happy. I've been driven through here and I've been cost a podium as a result. Did he fence him? No, he didn't. Did he run him a little bit wide at turn 1 post-race? Yes, he did. Did he wrap on the bumper? Yes, he did. It's tough. I reckon 3-race suspended sentence is harsh. I want to see the stewards do something to say, hey, this is not on at the same time. That's where I sit on it. So that's one that'll debate the fans. Go back and have a look at it if you haven't. It's right at the end. We actually replayed it a couple of times from the Sebring race. If you haven't seen the footage, it's absolutely worth a look. Because I want you guys at home to make up your minds on those sorts of things, because it's important. It's important to the future of the sport, and let us know how you feel about it as well, because in my perspective, if we're not passionate about those sorts of things, we're not passionate about racing. And I love hearing the opinions of people up and down pit lane. So in terms of how that all played out, it's in the books. It's done. He's got to sit out the next 3 rounds, and I think he's probably done for the year. But what that does do is it opens the doors for some new wildcard entries as well. I'm going to be joined by Jack Andrews from Phoenix Racing. He will be here. I chatted to him a little bit earlier on tonight. He's going to be trying clean. Basically, his goal, don't get anyone's way. Don't ruin any championships for other people. It's not his race. He recognises that. The other one, Chris Island, adds another car to the DPR stable as well. So they're quite happy to have him along for the ride.
Yeah. it's always tricky circumstances, isn't it, when you're jumping in and taking up a spot, you know, for you know, they've missed out on the first part of the season, so it's not a points deal for them, but still they want to be in the action, but want to be as respectful as they can.
Righto. Well, what we did do is we've been talking the last couple of rounds about what tracks that we'd like to see on and off the service, what tracks we'd like to see in terms of tracks that we'd like to see in the calendar and tracks that we'd like to see removed from the calendar. So I gave you a question a little bit earlier in the week, Sam, and I said, what tracks would you like taken off the schedule? And you picked the same two I already had lined up. So we both agree with this one. If we wanted tracks removed from the schedule, tracks that we want to change out of the 12 races for next week, Road, Atlanta and Watkins Glen are both the ones for me. Watkins Glen, I just felt there wasn't enough passing, and I think you'd agree with that one.
Yeah, and hence why it was my pick. And yeah, let it be known that I had absolutely no idea what Scott's choices were. And yeah, we had the sort of same deal. So yeah, it didn't quite live up to the hype, unfortunately. Yeah, the times were close in qualifying, but yeah, the racing really wasn't ideal. But
we've both gone for Road Atlanta as well, because I think we're going to see it later on in the season. It's actually going to be the other one of our sprint rounds that we saw last time out at Detroit Belle. I think that's probably the best way that we can include it. But again, the racing, maybe it's just a touch too fast. Cars don't quite suit it. But we ended up having to pick two tracks that we both wanted to see on the schedule. I went for Misano. I wanted to include Misano because I actually really love the flow of it. And the Nürburgring GP track, but the one with the slow, tough chicane where you got to bounce over the curbs. And you've gone for?
Yeah, so I had a tough choice. I was like, you know, obviously I could have easily picked some Aussie tracks, and especially the ones that are new coming to the service. But the two I've picked, I like the layout of these two tracks. There's undulation, there's a little bit of everything in it. And I'd love to see, I've driven, obviously, the supercar around both these circuits. But will it provide good racing? I'm not sure. But, geez, I'd love to see it happen, though.
Yeah, well, that's why in the commentary box, or apparently I'm in a box with two cats. I don't know about that, but we'll find out about that one. We also got in touch with a couple of the drivers from the series just to get their insights into this one. Well, what would the drivers like to see to be removed from the calendar? Bo Albert is going to be crucified for this one because in his selections, Road Atlanta, so he agreed with us.
Yep.
Phillip Island. Ooh,
yeah.
I don't know if he's going to be liked by the racing public. Tyson Broad has gone for tonight's track in Spa-Francorchamps and Road America. Zach Rattray Wright agreed with him. Road America also not on the schedule, but he also doesn't like Road Atlanta. So we'll take those tracks off for these guys. What would they like to be subbed in? For Bo Albert, he's gone with, I believe he's gone for a couple of tracks that actually are on the service already. Just waiting for the graphics to upload so we can talk to you guys about them. In the meantime, I can tell you qualifying has actually just started and we're waiting for the drivers to get around. So he's gone, he wants to add Imola in. You can bounce over the curbs in Imola. Works quite well for a supercar. Virginia International Raceway, tight and tricky, and I don't necessarily like it. Tyson Broad wants Motorland Aragon, but this one comes with a caveat. And the reason for that is that he said you've got to be using the Moto layout in terms of this one as well. Can't be using any of the other layouts. And his other recommendation was to add Barbagallo Raceway, currently known as Wanneroo. Zach Rattray White went for bring back Interlagos, bring back Monza. And that's coming from a guy who likes his GP-style racetrack. So he's taken some narrow ones off the circuit, not necessarily major GP, wants some tracks with a little bit more racing. And of course, Interlagos and Monza both on the schedule, I believe, last year. So I was quite happy to see them return. Right, we're going to qualify. This is the first of the flying laps. Let us know if you're watching along at home. What tracks would you like to see changed out on the calendar for 2025? What tracks would you put in their place? Doesn't have to be tracks on the iRacing service as well. And I reckon that shout for Barbagallo Raceway was actually a really good one there, SML.
Yeah, I'll let you agree with that. Personally, I'm not a big fan of Barbagallo, but hey, yeah, you'd still love to see it, especially if it made it to the iRacing service. If we did get it scanned one day, that'd be terrific. But yes, it's not one of my favourites, I'm going to be honest.
In the meantime, we're both biting our tongues and going Adelaide, 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 as does the entire racing public in Australia. So that one will be picked up. Griffin Gardner's going to slide down the inside of one of those DPR Sim Rigs cars at the moment. The reason for that is off track already picked up. So in the meantime, everyone's going to be trying to continue their flying laps. 20 minutes for qualifying here. There'll be no field split. The reason for that, lap time in excess of 2 minutes and 20 seconds. There is more then enough time to get the field in here. The big problem though, long lap, which means you only get a couple bites at the cherry in terms of qualifying trim.
That's it. And how often do we talk about making sure you get a banker down? And this is crucial at this place when you're talking nearly 2.5 minutes for a lap. The fact is that, you need to make every lap count because it's a long trek all the way back to the lane for a fresh set of tyres. So, yeah, very interesting. But that's what keeps these guys on their toes because they know that they need to make these laps count. So they're racing up against the clock, 15 minutes left in this quali session, and no one's actually got a banker yet. So it's going to be pressure on.
I know. You're getting some support, by the way, for Portimao. So that was a big suggestion out there. It was Ryan Jones who failed to complete his lap. He's dived to pit lane. First lap's coming through in the books. Jared Philsell jumps to a 2:22.5. Last year on the Gen 2 chassis, it was down to a 2:16. Remember, less downforce, a little bit more focus on mechanical grip, maybe a touch faster in a straight line because the cars aren't as big, they aren't as bulky. Damon Woods only a 10th off him thus far. Andrew Gilliam 2.5 tenths. He was quick again last year. Here, Rattray White popped in there. Here comes the times. Madison down, splits in the middle of them. Jake Maloney, the TTR car's right up there. Luke Rosella finally showing a little bit of pace for the Lobs Esports driver. Remember, last time out, he finished the highest on a lot of them, but drama did happen to the rest of the Lobs Esports cars. Brady Myers, last round winner from Detroit Belle Isle in the final race of the night, slots himself into 6th spot, and that is all the laps that have come through in the first half of the session.
Yep, so now it's all dialing back to the pit lane as quick as they can, put on a fresh set of Dunlops and go again. But as we quickly look through that top 10, Emily Jones inside the top 10, that's good. Josh Anderson currently P2 in the series. He needs to probably get himself up the grid a little bit, but not bad. He's there or thereabouts just on his first banker lap. So he can work with that with still 13.5 minutes to go.
Important to note, a couple drivers didn't set laps. Jordan Ross amongst them. I'm actually not seeing him in the sim at the moment. He might be having issues. Is potentially Jordan Ross. Sebastian Vandel also failed to settle up. He's already back in a pit lane. He'll get back out there. Another one, Tyson Broad having issues at the moment. Glenn Postlethwaite, Ryan Jones, we mentioned already. Jake Blackhall, Job Stewart, and James Scott also not on the board. Dylan Pereira, another driver. Pereira's also not in the session at the moment. So we've got a couple drivers with issues. Or might be starting from the rear of the field as well. There might be some lingering penalties in those ones carrying over from Detroit. There was a lot that went on back at Detroit, to be fair.
It's interesting, if anyone's done laps around here recently, especially in these Gen 3 cars, it's so easy to get an off track. You just get a little bit wide of one of the white painted lines and it's easy to get a 1X and that's all that it takes to take you out of these laps. So, like I said, I've done a little bit of practice through the week at this racetrack, and it's incredible how easy it is just to get a little 1X if you're just the wrong side of the white line.
Yep, righto. First laps in the session. Now they'll all dive back in a pit lane. I tell you what, how good is it to see Job Stewart out there and turning reasonably quick laps. Emily Jones, really happy to see her run up the pointy end. Dylan Rudd, a little bit of work to do. Bo Albert was quick here last year, talked to him midweek, said he's not right there in terms of confidence. He's just got his rig back for the first time in a fair while. So he's finally back in his own seat at his house and feeling a lot more comfortable. So hopefully looking for a little bit more confidence from him, albeit I'll have more to talk about in terms of race trim when we get there later on. But for the meantime,
Australia's favourite race cam. Have a look at that. Stenny at the wheel. Looks like he's just getting himself sorted. Having a chat to the team. He'll be ready to go straight back out again. What's he doing? Is he waiting for teammates maybe? Are they going to think about working together? Yeah, it looks like it.
Although, remember the TTR times all popped in very late after the bulk of the rest of the field. So they're comfortable just going, all right, you guys disappear down the road, we'll do our own thing. Are they going to be a little bit shorter on time than the rest of the field? Yes, they will be. But they do know they'll have their own section of racetrack to work.
I don't know if anyone saw it in the socials too. TTR did a little bit of practice at this racetrack and joined one of the official servers, and they almost had a 3 wide for the finish to the line. It was an incredible finish. So those guys had their fun preparing for this round at Spa, and yeah, if you're curious to see it, check out TTR socials on Facebook, the TTR page, and yeah, it was a really cool little battle they had in the last corner, and it was a 3-way tie to the finish line. It was brilliant.
couple of comments coming out as well. People wanted a check-in in terms of what was going on with the in-sim track temperatures. Can tell you, track temperature out there at the moment, currently 33 degrees Celsius. Looks to be 34 on that one, so a little bit of rounding up. Yeah, it is 33.9 degrees Celsius, I can tell you, so just shy of 34. Touch cloudy at the moment. Race will be a little bit later on in the evening. Forecast for the back end of the race, by the way, there is a 15% chance of rain in the middle of that race, so there is a chance there. 74% humidity is rather high as well. Remember, summer over in Europe. Doesn't feel like that this side of the world.
And I tell you, this racetrack's famous for a little bit of showers in one part of the racetrack and bone dry in the next part. So, you know, who knows? Will that creep in towards the end of this race? I know the teams will have to keep an eye on it. But like you said, the chances are pretty slim, but there's still a chance.
Well, Damon Woods has gotten away from everybody else. He will not be offering any format of a tow to anyone he's in and around. He's going to fire it off the final corner. He'll start another hot lap. The thing I was actually looking at with Damon Woods as well, remember back to Detroit below, I talked to Jared Filsell after his qualifying lap. He said the front tyres weren't quite up. I didn't quite get enough speed in the outlap to put some heat into them. And so I did see from Damon Woods he was actually weaving a little bit, not egregiously, not chasing massive amounts of front tyre temp, but he did want some at the start of the lap.
Oh, he grabbed a lot of curb there. I think he might have got away with it, though. It doesn't look like he's having to slow down or anything like that at this stage. So it's very easy to do when you go up part through that racetrack. It's so fast and easy to clip some of that curb and get a 1X, but he's pushing on with it. So thankfully, I think he's got away with it.
Yep, for now, through the Lacombe chicane. Now he'll try and carry some speed up and over the curbing. Also just heard there was a report of potentially some impeding around where Ryan Jones was. And remember, Ryan was one of the first drivers to bail out on his first attempt at a flying lap. Albeit, I think the number 11 car might have been on another hot lap, and he's just come across the pack, and if he has, well, unfortunate. But that is the way it is. Damon Woods at the moment. What are the sector times looking like? They do look reasonable thus far. Made a lot of time in Sector 2 on his previous lap. He's now down and into the third sector as it currently stands. He'll be trying to grab his first pole position of the season. He'd love another strong result at this point in the season. Push him into the top 5. That would be awesome to be walking away from Spa with.
Absolutely. And what a great racetrack. And I think the V8s drive around here really well. I like that it's on the calendar. It does put great racing together. And yeah, it's a different thing tonight, though, isn't it? When we start thinking about fuel mileage and maybe saving fuel, or, you know, that desperation of holding out for maybe a safety car, if that works in your favour. But, man, I've never been good at racing and saving fuel. So I'm thankful that I'm not in this one, I'll tell you, because that was something I could never master. It is a little bit of a fine art, but it'll definitely be interesting come to the later stages of this race.
Now, did he miss the curb at the second last corner from Damon Woods? I think he did. And I don't think the lap time was representative. In fact, I don't think it counted either. So there was an off track in the middle of that one, 222.648. The problem for him, he's got to go a long way around. Have a look at the host of cars in the background that have just pushed the track limits a touch too far. Phil Sell will improve on his lap now. Goes to a 222.500. Just a touch of an improvement from him. Says that his optimal is right there and about. He improved by 31 thousandths. This is the queue of cars that didn't get a lap time in on that asking. And track temp's gone up. Track temp's now 36 degrees. We've had actually a massive amount of sunshine just come out of the racetrack. So conditions are going away, and it means that first lap might have been the best of conditions. Look at the timing, Sam. There's only one more opportunity.
And everyone's taken the opportunity to just dive straight. They're aborting that lap and heading straight to the lane because you're right, 6 minutes to go. I'll tell you what, if they're trying to accommodate a lap now, like you said, they're going to have a pretty tough ask to get all the way back to have another crack at it. So it could be their last opportunity.
The big thing is the field is spread now right across the track a fair way. So trying to find that hole. Again, 2 minutes and 24 seconds. There will be an avenue to try and get that lap in. Keep an eye on the 900 machine at the moment. And that'll be Andre Youssef. He's found himself a little bit of clear air. 224.1. First time by. Will it be an improvement for the Vermilion Esports driver? massive amount of curb. But that's what we like to see. We want to see these cars in the sim getting up and mounting those curbs.
Absolutely.
Here's an improvement too. Drops into the 223, so that'll be a couple spots. Does an improvement. No position gain in terms of his time at the moment. So it was an improvement, but not enough to grab another spot.
Geez, this is a pressure for these guys when you're talking the lap times. You know, we said how crucial it is to bank a time and then get round as quick as you can to put on another set and have another crack at it. You know, it's tricky. There we go. Look at that. Sebastian Vandel, no time at all whatsoever. So 5 minutes left in the session. Jake Blackhall also no time. So these are quite interesting that Jay's fine. Ryan Jones is another one. How many more of these guys? We're it's been just over 10 minutes and no one's been able to put down a banker yet.
Yeah, let alone Lachlan Capel's not put together a great lap thus far either. So he's currently last of the qualifying drivers. Run to Blanchemont. That looks like a fast lap. Actually, he'd be on an in lap at the moment. And there would be enough time for him to get out there and do one more lap. So just.
So Lachlan's, he's aboarded. Wow.
It's one of the new entries to the series. Wild card for this round and potentially ongoing as well for Jack Andrews.
And look how dark it is there. A little bit of cloud cover for these guys that are on track. So that might benefit some of these teams and drivers that are actually on at the moment, because that slight little track change, obviously you touched on it just before that, we had that spike in the temperature and the sunshine in here, but the other half of the racetrack has got a little bit of cloud cover. So that will work for the drivers that are actually on a lap for the moment.
Well, I can tell you, the track temps, remember we said it was 36.7? Back down to 35 dead in terms of track temps. So it's coming back to the racetrack again. It is all over the place with that cloud cover.
There you go.
Yeah, look at that.
Unreal.
And that's, I think, Ryan Jones coming out to start his lap. He's just started a flying lap. Oh, sorry, my apologies. My apologies. Ryan Jones just finished one, so that was critical for him to get that lap in. Goes to 32nd, 33rd spot at the moment for him. And Blackhall, another one of the drivers yet to settle up.
So he really needs this one to count. This is his last shot.
Yeah, he won't have enough time.
Make his night incredibly hard. So now it's all about putting this lap together, because you start from the back of the grid, you're pushing it uphill straight away. So what he needs is to have a good braking zone into here, into this tight right-hander. You want to get the car in, turned in as deep as you can, and almost clip the concrete. Beautiful turn in. Get on the power without spinning the wheels. And he'll even get a little bit of a toe here. He'll be hoping that whoever that is in front of him, that he can just catch that little bit of a toe. He's probably a bit too far at the moment, but as much as he can. Just listen to the throttle there. A little bit of cloud cover here, so this is working for him. He will sniff a tiny little bit of draft here. Will this work in his favour? He'll be flashing the lights, hoping that driver gets out the way for him too, because that's the last thing he needs, is to be held up when he's only got his last chance at having a crack.
Yeah, and that'll be Teo Serrano just down the road from him in the 111 entry. He's going to abort and get out and over the chicane, so that creates a little bit of space. The problem for Blackhall is that he's about 15-20 seconds behind a big pack of cars at the moment. They're all on outlaps, but they are tearing around to try and get an opportunity to get one more lap in. More cloud cover, session temperature, and the track temperature has died off just a little bit more. So the grip is coming to them late on in this session. And 1 minute and 45 seconds on the clock. Who is going to put the lap together from the circuit to Spa-Francorchamps? Phil Silla Madison down on the front row. They came together last time out. Are they going to do it again on the run down to turn number 1? Probably not. They're a little bit wiser than that. They will have a crack at each other late in the race, though, for podium spots, which will change things up. But that's another story at the start of the night, Guys have got into each other a number of times over the years and always walked away with a fair bit of respect for each other afterwards, must be said.
Yeah, look, that was hard racing, don't forget. Madison was trying to save fuel. Jared knew what he was doing. Madison was making his car as wide as he could to try and protect teammates as well. So they both knew exactly what they were both doing, and they just came together. It's good, hard racing. I doubt for a second at all that there's any hard feelings whatsoever.
I've seen a penalty come through. A car that it was registered to was number 3, Cody Deeth, will get a 10-second penalty for impeding Ryan Jones in qualifying. Remember, I did say there was an issue with impeding. So for Jake Blackhall, this is the end of the lap, and look at what he's caught. He's caught the back end of that pack right at the end of that lap, so he is okay to push on and complete it. So no traffic dramas for him. That works out perfectly.
A bank of time. Unfortunately, it's only good enough for 37th.
But here's a time on the board. There are still a couple drivers yet to achieve that marker.
Ominous signs again, isn't it? Jared's he's on top of his game this year. Almost immaculate start to the series. Taken 4 out of the 5 wins, and he's obviously very quick again tonight. Currently top of the timesheets. The checker flag's out for this session, but there's still a number of drivers that are on their last lap trying to see if they can take the pole off Jared Fieldcell for the moment. Looks quite tidy, and he's actually pulling away from that group of cars that's behind him. So this could be a little bit pacey as well.
Yeah, that it could. And the track temperature continues to improve. So this is the best of the grip at the back end of the session. Rubber has now been laid down as well. Final time of asking for Jared Fieldcell. Nothing picked up in the way of off tracks through Blanchimont, one of the riskiest, highest speed sections of the racetrack. Tips it into the bus stop chicane. Is it going to be another pole position? That was a ton of curb, and that might be some of the advantage that the 94 machine is finding. The Lobs Esports car to the final corner. Will the lap time be an improvement? Yes, it will be. He pushes the margin out to a 4.72, but we'll watch and we'll wait because there are a ton of drivers, 3/4 of the field, more than that. 95% of the field are on a flying up at this point in time. Andrew Gilliam and Luke Rosell are the 2 teammates, but look at Gilliam, the slide on as he comes up the hill now. And now his run towards Blanchimont. Car on the left-hand side of the road. Griffin Gardner qualifying done for the defending series champion. Best hill start is 19th. Sebastian Varnell also in there, yet to set a qualifying time. There's a host of them on their way to this last corner. And the Lobs Esports teammates, look at the curve they use, trying to maximize it. They are smashing the bus stop chicane. Will they smash the timesheets? Here comes the lap to the stripe. What are they able to put together? Andrew Gilliam improves, goes to the front row. P2 for him. What was Rosella able to do? No, Rosella will better him. He'll push him off the front row. Luke Rosella. It is a Lobs Esports 1, 2, 3 at the moment. No, it's not. No, it's not. The man is back in form. Madison down. Top of the timesheets. Finally nicked one off the top end of town. He goes to P1. He will nick the pole position. Is that the first time this season, other than the sprint race from Detroit Berlisle, that we've seen? In fact, I think that's the first non-Lobs Esports pole position that we've seen.
Yeah. And when you were commentating there, I was wondering how Luke Rosella was going because he was tucked right up the back of Gillian, and that obviously worked in his favour, and I thought he'd snatched it, but then here comes Madison down in the dying stages. Absolutely nothing in it between the top runners, nothing, no of a surprise whatsoever for Spa, and unreal. That call there at the end and just the amount of times it changed in those last few seconds, that was incredible. Typical Spa.
Is it still going? I think there might be one more car in a lap. It might be Damon Woods, maybe, on one more flyer at this point in time. No, I believe he might have already done it. So the qualifying order has been set. And it is going to be Madison down off a pole position from Jared Fieldcell. And I tell you what, this is going to be on the run down to turn number 1. If you thought there was paint traded back at Detroit below, well, the walls were close on that occasion. They'll have a little bit more room to work with, and then we'll have to talk about fuel saving. Luke Rosella puts his best qualifying performance of the season. It was good enough for the front row, then he got squeezed off of it. He'll still sit on the second row. Zach Rattray White, best of the Eclipse Sim Sports drivers, and well, he's going to be quick here tonight as well. On the third row of the grid, Andrew Gilliam continues to find that turn of form, and it's going to be Lobs Esports driver alongside Eclipse Sim Sport driver on both row 2 and row 3. Damon Woods will line up to his outside. Moving back to the fourth row of the field, it's going to be an all Trans-Tasman Racing, Brady Myers and Jake Molyneux. The teammates will look to work together here, albeit 2.5 tenths of a second and 3 tenths of a second off the pole position time, but boy, that track come alive in the dying stages there in terms of grip. Jocelyn Henderson as well gets inside of the top 10. Oh, Albert said, I haven't been all that confident, I haven't been all that capable. Well, Spa just must be his track. He was quick last year here, he's quick this time again. We'll start off of the fifth row, last driver inside of the top 10. Outside of the 10, we get back to 11th spot, and when he was here last year, he was sporting that Farewell Commodore tribute, Farewell Holden. This time, he starts off with 11th spot. James Scott will not be impressed with his qualifying performance. It's been a problem for those Chiefs Esports cars of late. They started strong at the top of the year, not so as we've moved forward. Emily Jones puts in one of her best qualifying performances this season. Will start off at 13th spot. Cody Deeth, 10-second time penalty added at his first pit stop, will start off alongside of Emily. Out of 15th spot will be defending series champion Dylan Rudd, Rick Kuznetsov. These two were fighting for the championship early on in the stages last year. They'll be lining up off of the 8th row of the grid, only 11 thousandths of a second separating these guys. And Adam Briggs and Job Stewart are going to be off of the 9th row of the grid, one of the series' oldest contenders, along with one of the real up-and-comers in terms of the Australian racing scene, not just on the sim but in the real world as well. Jacob O'Reilly and Matthew Bowler are going to be lining up alongside of each other to round out the top 20 thousandth of a second between these two drivers. Absolutely nothing in it. By the way, I just remembered, pole position last year was 4 10,000ths of a second, but that time it was between teammates. No margin at all. 2 thousandths of a second back to Griffin Gardner. He will have 3 thousandths of a second over Kobe Williams on the 11th row of the grid, 12th row of the grid, 23rd and 24th as we're starting to get deeper into the field. Dylan O'Shea had some issues in qualifying, still managed to get on top of it. Kurt Stenberg, that will be his best qualifying performance of the season. He'll be looking to push his way forward from their 24th spot. Very happy with that one for him. Jack Wittes finally put points on the board last time of asking at Detroit Belle. Sean McNamara, the ever-wily veteran, he needed to get his way off of the bubble. Last time that we came to Spa, automatically qualified his way back in. Should be a good race for him as well. Lachlan Capel and Ian Ford make it an all ERT row number 14. And finally, last couple cars inside of the 30, Christopher Ireland, new entry to the series for him, and a wild card entry, Brian Borg, will be starting off alongside of him. A little bit of a technical alliance between those two cars, be looking to work together for those guys. Spoke to Hayden Veld earlier on in this evening as well. He's done about 1.5 hours of practice. He felt that was the sweet spot for him. Brady Baldwin will line up alongside of him out of 31st and 32nd, and a second back to these guys. 33rd and 34th, Glenn Postlethwaite has had some success of late in his cars down in Victoria, so he is really looking to rock that on. That's the livery you can see on that car. Ryan Jones will line up alongside of him, and Ryan said wasn't expecting pace here tonight. I think that reflects that one. Taylor Serrano and Tyson Broad will be off outside that 1.1 to 1.2 second marker, and they will be 35th and 36th. 37th and 38th, Andre Youssef from Jake Blackhall. We could see how much Blackhall was just struggling. He just couldn't get the lap together, had to put it together. Unfortunately, more of a banker than necessarily would have liked. And finally, final car on the field is the other wildcard entry for this round. Put in a time check. Andrews will be trying to keep it together. Before we get down, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the front end of the field, the play seat pole position. And Stephen Sandman Clark has the pretty suit. He gets to talk to the man that's sitting pretty on pole position.
That's it. Not much of a walk, and it's a great view from here, isn't it? Congratulations, Madison Down, putting that TTR Chevy on the front row in P1.
Yeah, thanks, Sandman. That was mega. Probably the first time I've executed qualifying now in many months, if not years. So, yeah, awesome to put it on the front row on pole position. It's a track that I always seem to have decent pace at, and yeah, it was definitely a fist pump crossing the line. It's not often that you do that because this series is just so competitive.
Yeah, and speaking about that, like you said, best quality of the year, and it's such a good racetrack. The racing around here is always first class. So I touched on in qualifying just you TTR guys having that little practice run and the 3 wide finish to the checkered flag in the official series. That was a bit of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. We the team's done a few official races this week, and both times it's come down to a last lap, last corner fight for the win. So if that is anything to go by, we should have a good race tonight. But yeah, always exciting at this track. Huge draft, big wide track. So see how we go. I mean, the pace is obviously there. Just a matter of trying to run with these Lobs guys. They've been mighty impressive this year.
Speaking of Lobs guys, before we wrap it up, fuel saving in the last round. Maybe some fuel saving again for tonight, possibly. And last time you were saving fuel, old mate next year, it made things a little bit exciting between you towards the end.
Yeah, it looks like it's gonna kick off again tonight. No, I mean we're all past that now, but we'll see what occurs. I mean, Jared and I over the years have had many good duels over the past decade, and I'm sure tonight will be no different. He's been the class act and the fastest driver in this car by a mile so far, so we'll see how he goes. The aim for me is to not let him run too far down the road and actually give him a bit of a fight. So yeah, eyes forward and see how we go.
All right, well, all the best. We'll let you concentrate. And car looks good up front, mate. Let's see if it can stay there, hey? And we'll talk to you a little bit later on.
Thanks, mate. Catch you later.
Cheers. Scotty, you've made your way down to Madison's teammate in Emily Jones, who's back in 13th position.
Emily, been putting the hard yards into Spa, although it's one of those GP circuits that you tend to get a fair few laps in and around here. It's one of those places that everyone sort of tends to feel quite confident at. Strong track for you? Is that where you were expecting to qualify, or is that maybe a little bit ahead, a little bit behind?
Yeah, I think I'm okay here. I think I've done a lot of laps here in many cars. I'll be honest, I haven't done a lot of laps this week. I haven't done over one lap at a time yet. So when I finish the first lap, that's going to be my first second lap of the week. But I'm sure it'll be okay. There's lots of long corners. I don't know. I could be in a huge crash on lap 1 at Radion, so we'll wait and see, I guess.
Well, it's one of the most famous corners or corner combinations in racing. V8 Supercar, you're not going through there flat out, and it's going to be on cold tyres. Realistically, there's only one way to test that, and it's to do a field start like this. And by the sounds of things, you're sitting here going, that's probably the most nerve-wracking part of it. So does the fuel saving, does that sort of gameplay a little bit part of that? Are you looking to let people go in there, or are you just going to get the elbows out because stuff it, I'm here, I've earned my spot, I want to race?
I normally take the fuel save option if it's available. I rate my fuel saving ability over my ability to aggressively race people. It's not my strength, I guess. But I think the fuel save here is almost out of the question unless there is a safety car or something. I think it's too difficult to make that work. So, I mean, maybe people will try it, but I think it's a really long shot to make that work.
Well, we'll be talking fuel when we jump into the race. But for the meantime, best of luck, Emily. Get your head down. Is there anyone you'd like to give a thank you for getting that lap done here tonight?
Just thanks to the TTR guys for they put on so much work. Like Brady and Ando and Maloney especially are on for days in the lead up building sets and stuff. So thanks to them for their help.
Righto, Emily Jones will line up off of P13. What can she make of tonight's racing action? Well, I spoke to a driver a little bit earlier on in the evening. He said about 1.5 to 2 hours worth of practice is about where Hayden Veld feels comfortable. Stephen, do you reckon that's about the right amount of practice for young Hayden Veld over here?
Oh, mate, if that's what he's saying, I mean, let's ask the man himself. Starting out of P31, great number, by the way, just looks good on the side of my race car, but probably not the best starting position on the grid. You'd like to be P1, but only an hour and a half practice this week. Do you think that's the way to go?
Oh no, the hour and a half is what I aimed for. Today was a lot less, so we didn't quite hit the peak number, which I feel like is ideal for the pace and good luck. Because for me, the more practice I do, the worse luck I get. So I've found my happy medium. I just haven't been able to hit it this week. Like, you know, we've been racing majors, doing other things, so haven't really had the time to get around to this. About 31's good. That's big Robbie Gibbs's number, so rest in peace. But hopefully we'll see him back.
Thinking about tonight, obviously different situation with a limited fuel capacity in these cars. That makes things interesting. Has that been playing on your mind through the week in the lead up?
Yeah, sort of read a few things in the chat about the potential fuel save and you know, some people saying that they'll go for the fuel save, others saying going all out. So don't quite know what to go for yet, but we'll see how the race plans out and we'll figure it out from there.
All right, Hayden, we'll let you go. We're inside a minute now before the green flag, so get yourself prepped. Hopefully we're talking to you at the end of the night, mate. Have a good run.
Cheers, boys.
There you go, Scotty. So Hayden is ready to go.
We've got issues at the moment. We've just heard that Brady Baldwin currently not on the grid. That is where his car is scheduled to line up. And at the moment, he is loading back into the sim. I know that Brady has had issues with his PC of late, and they were hoping that those issues had been resolved. But for the meantime, he's not there and he's not on the grid. 30 seconds before we get into a race start here. Spa-Francorchamps, 32 laps. 2 stints tonight. You'll have to do 11. 1 stint, you'll have to do 10 laps to get it home on the 2-stop strategy. Otherwise, it's 3 stops. When we release these cars here at Circuit Spa-Francorchamps in a few moments' time, who will be going for the fuel saves number, because you'll have to hit it from the word go. Madison down from pole position. What's he going to be able to do? Here we go. The launch, the drop of the green flag. The lights are off. Phil Sell got a gangbusters getaway down, crawled away from the start. He's going to be second leading in the first turn. Rosella's trying to look to dive up the inside. No hole's going to open up for him on the inside. Rattray White's going to try and slingshot it through. Phil Sell ran wide at turn 1. Couldn't pull the car off. Somebody's out and into the marbles on the outside. Kitty Litter being dragged back. 3 wide on the run down to Eau Rouge. Boys, you got to sort it out. Hobson was looking at the pair of them and going, I think I want to get my nose in here. They single file out at the front. They all managed to feed on through. No drama back there. Have a look at the cars 2 wide at the tail end. That was one of the Chiefs Esports cars. 2 wide for Eau Rouge. Radion, that requires bravery.
Yeah, great start there for Phil. So have a look at this, 3 by 3. They're all trying to give each other a little bit of space. A couple of them just backing out, saying, no, thank you, don't really want to have a run there. Might have even gotten off track and had to slow down, so that's what might have caused a bit of chaos. But thankfully, everyone's been to get away scot-free. So a little bit of bump and grind, but that's what we like in our Aussie V8 supercars.
They'll settle it in. Fuel save was the call. Who is going to do it? Who is going to be able to do it? It's 900 mil. A lot for some cars, and that's, I think, Dylan O'Shea that's gone around. But I thought that might have been Brian Borg on the outside when I saw the colours that were coming through. Indeed it was. Yeah. So those two have come a cropper. And that is Brady Boardman. Did get into the server, but missed the race start off from the rear of the field.
There's some big damage to those cars too. So that's obviously not ideal. Hasn't brought out a safety car. So thankfully, everyone's just going to keep on racing. But whew, what a start here. Lap 1 of 32. Relatively clean. Yes, we did see that little bit of contact, but I think it could have been a lot worse, especially at the start.
Certainly could have been. It'll be reviewed by the race stewards, so we'll have to wait for further information on that one as it progresses. Gainers on the first lap, Emily Jones, talked about rolled off at 13th. She's into the top 10. Last car inside the top 10. But the big thing is, what is Phil Sell going to do in terms of fuel strategy? Because he was on the wrong side of it last time out. They reckon it's too far. 900 millilitres. That's a lot of fuel you've got to save around here, but it's a big racetrack.
Yeah, well, you heard those comments from Emily off the grid that she was saying it's probably not a position of fuel saving. Madison down just cooked that entry, and here we go. Jared Fuelsell now trying to get a run here. So Madison just made a little bit of mistake just into the braking zone. Will Jared have a crack, or will he just stay behind? Because he's obviously in a position where he can save that little bit of fuel, but he is taking it to Madison. But maybe a look up the inside for the crossover, not quite.
Well, there was a little bit of paddle rubbing on the way out of the La Source hairpin. He's going to be all over him as they head down the hill. They've both made a mistake on that opening lap. One of them into the first corner, the other one into the final corner on lap number 1. 32 laps, one of them in the books, 7 kilometres out of the way here tonight. The run off of Malmedy down to Rivage. That was the car pushed out into the dirt. That looks like Dylan O'Shea as he'll rejoin. Brian Borg's in the middle. Just clipped him. He was sort of forced there by the car on the inside, wasn't he?
Yeah. He was trying to give room to the car to the right side of him, and then there's a car on the left, and yeah, it was a bit of a squeeze out, unfortunately, and got caught up and made heavy contact with the barrier as well. So, nose to tail contact. That was Phil Sell into the back of down. See how much that Phil Sell's car wiggled as he got into the back there, obviously under the brakes there as well. Managed to get away with it. Got his teammate Luke Rosella behind him as well. So, that made for interesting viewing with that camera shot.
Good news, no damage to the front end of Jared Phil Sell's Chevy Camaro. So at the moment, it's Camaro, Mustang. And this is a huge opportunity for Luke Rosella as well. Dylan O'Shea's got damage, and he's got a penalty of some description at the moment. Probably on his way back to pit lane this time by, but we'll keep an eye on that one. At the rear end of the field. In the meantime, the big thing about Spa, huge draft trains. You step out, sometimes you just get absolutely railroaded. You'll go for an overtake, but you just get run over sometimes instead.
It's going to be interesting. Obviously, it's the first time here for us, for our series, to have these Gen 3 cars here. And like you said, it's such an aero racetrack where you can use that draft, but we wonder how effective it is. It's probably the perfect chance to have a look as we ride on board with Kirk Stenberg on the roof of his car, and he'll be trying to see what little bit of a tow he can get. So there's a tiny bit there, but it's not a huge effect where it drags him right to the back bumper. So love the wheel work, as we always do with standing up on the wheel, having a Renault go. Will he think about a move to the inside? No, he's going to just sit pretty for the moment. And all these teams now just weighing up where they're at the moment and what they've got to plan ahead.
Remember I said there was a couple of cars that didn't take part in qualifying. One of them was Jordan Ross, and I've just gone back and had a look at him. He started from the rear end of the field. He's up to 29th spot, so he's already plus 10 or something. He's about a plus 11 spots at the moment. 3 wide on the run to the Source hairpin at the moment. And that's Jordan Ross that's in the middle of the thick of it as they come out the other side. Christopher Island in front of Hayden Veld, and these guys are going to square off. Squeezes him all the way to the pit wall. There's Hayden Veld. Veld trying to show the nose. He can't back out. There's nothing for him to feed in, and Jordan Ross is the one who has to yield. They both go wriggling up and over the curb, and Island might have got a corner cut. Indeed, Island has a slowdown penalty, so now he's going to have to serve that one, and he's got 2 guys crawling all over him. Jordan Ross will go to the middle of the road here. There goes the slowdown penalty. He applies the brakes, put the parachute out. Ross to the inside, pinches the brake, out the other side as well with some assistance. Gets rotated, freeze trouble.
Oh, they've caught up. No one else has managed to get involved, but that just got messy. Everyone was climbing up all over each other, exactly like you said. Unfortunately, there was contact and around he went.
And Hayden Veld was in right in amongst the thick of it. And I think there's damage on the front corner of his car at this point in time. Tyson Broad's in it. It's still kicking off. This is the melee because this is for 27th on back at the moment as they all try and feed their way in. Here they go. Veld will lead them off. Ian Ford got through. Tyson Broad, Dylan Pereira, Ryan Jones. It's kicking off. And this is how it started. A little bit in hot for Jordan Ross, and Hayden Veld followed him in.
Yeah, as soon as he made contact with him, that turned him around. And he was lucky that he didn't get collected by more cars because there were so many cars there that could have just jumped all over him and made it a lot worse. But they all got away with it. Unfortunately, he was pointing in the wrong direction, but doesn't have too much damage. He'll be able to push on now. But, man, heart and mouth stuff there.
It's all kicking off at the mid pack. But right up at the pointy end, don't forget these guys by any stretch of the imagination as well. At the moment, it's a 3-way fight for the race lead. Zach Rattray White just starting to lose a little bit of touch of them, and have a look at how good Phil Sell is into the last couple of corners as well. All over the back of Down, and then Down just crawls off the corner better. So he's struggling on the way into the bus stop chicane, all over it with the drive off.
How good does Phil Sell's car look, though, when he mounts up over that curb just into that last chicane? Like, he's grabbing a lot of curb there, and the car actually looks quite good. But it's interesting to see where he's at. Like, what's his mindset? Is he going to try and save a little bit of fuel here? Is he pushing Madison as hard as he can? It's really interesting. There's nothing in it between these two. They're just letting the laps play out. It's only lap 4 of 32, so a long way to go before they start thinking about stops. But we did say it could be around lap 10, depending on what sort of fuel usage they have.
Stenberg and Bowler just went side by side into Eau Rouge Radion as well. And I tell you what, in every racing series you look around here, how many times already have we gone side by side into those combination of corners? It's suicide generally considered across racing across the world. No, V8 supercars are like, yeah, boys, kick on. That's what we're all about.
I think everyone's got a little bit of a bravery pill because they're all digital race cars, but I don't know if you'd want to do it in real world.
I think there's more drama kicking on at the back end of the field as well. There's been a little bit of contact we're hearing between teammates towards the tail end. So this is Chris Owen and Hayden Veld. Neither of them wanting to give anything.
Whoa!
Oh, and then they get turned into each other.
Oh, so all that contact, he ended up taking out a teammate as well.
And that will be looked at from the triggering of that contact all the way back in. Everything else, that Ryan Jones is just in the wrong place, wrong time, unfortunately.
Yeah, when you start seeing a little bit of biff and barge in a straight line, the stewards will definitely be looking at that. And, mate, wrong place, wrong time. That's the understatement of the year, isn't it? He was just minding his own business and then gets collected by his teammate who was in all sorts coming into the braking zone.
Well, we talked all the way in the lead up to this about how this might be a fuel save race. I take a look at a few cars and I don't hear saving. But the big key is you burn fuel sitting on the grid before you fire off down to turn number 1. When you fire up those RPMs, fuel starts to drain out of the thing. So by my predictions, I had a 10-lap stint to open, then 2 11-lap stints to the end. But the big thing everyone kept talking about was extenuating circumstances. And by that, well, the Logitech safety car was missing from your G-Hub presentation this evening, Sam.
I started to give it up on the first couple of rounds, and then, of course, it had its first appearance for the season at the last round at Belle Isle. But yeah, it seems to be when I don't give the old girl some airtime, she makes an appearance. So it'll be interesting to see if it's the case tonight.
And we've got issues, unfortunately, for Jake Maloney, who at the start of the lap was sitting reasonably comfortably. And that's Chris Ireland in a pit lane after damage to the front end of that car. So he is taking the opportunity to undercut and get out of that pack. Still no change of position back up at the front either.
Yeah, and I noticed a lap before too that Phil still had a nice little run on down at the part of the racetrack where we just were, and he didn't take the opportunity to make that pass. So I think for the moment he's quite content just to sit. I think he probably likes the idea of maybe putting a little bit of pressure on Madison to see how it all plays out. Obviously they'll have a number in their head as far as what lap they think they're going to pit, but you know, everything can get turned upside down with the Logitech G safety car, but for the moment, oh, that was almost a little coming together. One of the cars cut across the racetrack there, but yeah, you just don't know, do you? And thankfully, you know, we said there is the slightest chance of rain towards the end. The fact of the point is it probably won't impact us, but man, can you imagine if that was something that these teams had to worry about as well? But I think they dodged a bullet with that one.
Just looking at a few cars, and I was just watching actually Jordan Ross crawl his way down through the Rivage hairpin, and it is crawling through there in third gear, trying not to spin the tyre as much as possible. It is long and loaded around here, and that's a few things the supercar just does not like. It's been trimmed a fair bit of downforce off of this car for the Gen 3 package. And this was an interesting track just to wait and watch what was going to happen to the grip levels and the way the car performed. But Sandman, from your perspective, what's it like to drive a Gen 3 around here as opposed to some of the older hardware?
God, mate, I've loved it. I really have. I don't know if I've just been out of the seat too much and forgotten about how these cars drive. But obviously, you know, I didn't even do much racing in the older car. But this new gen car, I've really enjoyed my time this week, especially at Spa. The car feels really good. I'm obviously nowhere near the speed of what the likes of Madison Down, Jared Filsell, Luke Rosella. You know, these guys are incredible. But yeah, it is a really fun car to drive, and looking forward to seeing how it races over a race distance.
Well, we've got an update on the Jake Maloney situation. He did actually drop from the server and has now rejoined. The problem for him is he's rejoined right in the middle of the train. And when he dropped out, he's now dropped, I believe, one lap down as well. So he's going to need a safety car to potentially buy him back into this race, which is hard considering he qualified 8th and he's been one of the lead drivers for that team so far this season. And there is a change for the race lead now.
Yeah, unfortunately that camera shot we just missed the pass. Looks like Jared was setting him up, and that was the case. And he teased that a couple of times, couple of laps previously, and he didn't take the bait, but this time he did. So he's got the job done on Madison. And it'll be interesting to see, does he just run now? Obviously he's going to start thinking about that pit stop, and he can just start to see what he's got for Madison Down. And you know, Madison was probably worried a little bit that Jared would run off into the distance at the start of this race. So we're going to see over the next couple of laps if that's the case or not.
Just watching the attitude of both of those race cars, as Phil Sell's got a little bit more of a balanced car at this point in time. I'm seeing Madison work away a little bit more at the steering wheel between the two of them. And they're going to say that they get into the Lafania chicane right here, and all of a sudden the rear end on the 94 Lobs Esports machine is doing a little bit more talking. This was the change for the race lead on the run down the Kemmel Straight.
The OGQ replay, this is what we saw. He was setting him up and then just put the nose there. Madison was just smart, rolled out of it, didn't need to put up a fight there, and just tucked in behind him, and they've played on. So that's where they're at the moment, not too far away from first round of pit stops, and you can see that Jared's just got that margin out to a little bit. It'd be interesting. We watch him into this chicane, and we were talking about in qualifying how much he smashes his curb on the inside, and the car actually looks good when it gets up over the curb. So here, you can see just how much he takes. He takes way more than what Madison was just on that lap. But it was impressive to watch in qualifying, and the car looks really good. I was never brave enough to get up and get that much curb in practice, but he's obviously finding really good time and quite comfortable there at the moment.
Yep, so I think we've got some testing to do after this session is over. I think you
I'm
might
not
have found
brave
a couple more tents to get into this one. A little bit deeper in the field, Trans Tasman versus Chiefs Esports Club. I think this might be James, no, it would be Dylan Rudd, I think, getting Emily Jones. And sorry, my apologies, it was Dylan Rudd on his way past Emily Jones on the way to the final corner. And then Cody Deeth is going to get that job done as well.
Madison's hanging in there. In a lob sandwich. He's got his teammates a little bit further down in the pack at the moment, but a little bit racy here. Everyone's smart as far as going single file again. They know that you just give up too much time to everyone around you when you start battling at each other too hard side by side. And you know, as much room as there is around the racetrack, you can go side by side, but it's that precious time that you start to give up, and it's just not worth it at this early point.
Well, I'm just starting to watch for cars that are fuel saving, and the first one that I sort of can definitely note is Sebastian Vandel. The problem is he's 35th, and there were huge lifts on that car. Joe Stewart's cut his way through a few cars, but he dropped 14 spots on that one. He's actually on the fuel save strategy as well as Joe Stewart, so this might be the first of those guys really trying to go after the fuel save.
How are you at fuel saving, mate? I was terrible at it and still am.
Well, it's about the only skill I've got. Speed's not going to help me. I haven't got anything of that. So I became quite adept at putting the clutch to the floor.
It's definitely an art. You know, anyone can save fuel, but you've got to go fast at the same time, or as fast as you can with the people around you, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I can clutch it and be 12 seconds off the pace, no problems. But it doesn't help when old mate in front of you is that much quicker. So it is a fine art, and I take my hat off to anyone that can fuel save and still be competitively quick up the front.
Well, it's interesting to note is that Spa-Francorchamps has 3 separate pit layouts here. You have the GP circuit, you have the historic circuit, so the GP circuit feeds off just to the right here and feeds back in just after the source hairpin. Then you have the historic layout, which is down after the source hairpin before you get to Eau Rouge Radion. And then you have the endurance pit lane layout, and the endurance combines the 2 pit lanes into one. So we are in the GP circuit pit lane here. And I can tell you for a fact, every person I said, if we were using the endurance pit lane, would you be on the fuel save strategy? Absolutely. Wouldn't even question it.
Yeah, absolutely. That is a long trek down pit lane when you combine the two of them.
55 seconds.
Yeah, and then throw in your 20-odd second fuel stop or pit stop as well. As we see Ross, he's into the lane now. So lap 8 of 32. He's decided to get his first one over and done with.
So for relevance, Job Stewart right now, 35 seconds off the race lead. That is nearly a pit stop already back from those guys. But if he was, remember he qualified sort of about 18th. So for him, if he was only going to finish 18th, and this is going to maybe put him at the back end of the top 10, because the back end of the top 10 is only 28 seconds up the road, well, that is a gain of 8 spots, but he's got to maintain that. He is taking a huge risk to do it, and if you fall short, you've already given up all the time in the world and you've gained nothing for it.
It's catch-22, isn't it? You know, you see it work out for teams and drivers, and sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. You know, we saw the ups and downs just at Belle Isle the other week. Obviously, there was a little bit of contact that Phil Sell and Down had together, but that was just hard racing. Madison was in a position where he had to save like crazy, and Jared was pushing his best to get past, and you know, their two worlds collided. But I do love it when someone rolls the dice and tries to save a bit of fuel, because that just keeps everyone on their toes. You just don't know how it's all going to play out.
But all we can do is watch and wait. It is the longest of waits for a chess strategy like that. What does the 3-stop strategy look like pitting? Perhaps at the end of this lap, you're going to see the first cars feed off of the pit lane. It is 4 equal stints or 3 pit stops of 8 laps in length. And you can get the undercut. Fastest lap of the day so far, Zach Rattray White, 223.873. Well, they're all back into the mid 224s, mid to high 224s now. So all of them have lost a little bit of the peak pace out of that time. So there would be an undercut hard. Tell you what, I'm only seeing one car jump to the lane on this lap. It's Jacob O'Reilly. So all of them looking to go a little bit longer on this first stint.
Yep, save as much as you can at the start of this race, run it till it's absolutely dry, and get enough just to get to the lane and go again. So there's a car slowing in the background there. Looks like someone might have got a slowdown penalty possibly, but yeah, so far, what are we looking at? It's very close, isn't it, for this top, what do we got, top 6 cars? Only 2.5, just over 2.5 seconds. So, you know, one of these guys just, if they overshoot their pit box a little bit or just miss the markers that tiny bit, oh, see Madison just sliding around as he got on the power there. You know, you think about the position that Phil Cell's in. If he just has one little mistake where these guys are so close, if he just overshoots his pit bay and has to pull it up a tiny bit, he can go from 1st to 6th in a heartbeat.
So contact from lap 3 being looked at, which was the incident between Jordan Ross and Hayden Veld. 5-second time penalty issued to Jordan Ross, who went in there a touch too deep, because you remember you've got to try and keep your car on the track. That's about fair. Punished himself with the spin, but he's also impacted Hayden Veld's race as well, which is the reason he's been issued with a penalty. This lead pack, this lead battle's just not going anywhere at the moment. And have a look at those 2 Eclipse cars just lurking right there, aren't they? They're not dropping out of this picture.
Nah, just staying in touch. But in saying that, now Jared's got that margin over the 1 second now, over down. So he's just given himself just that little tiny bit of wriggle room. So maybe he's absolutely pushing now, where he's going to really dive into the lane this time by maybe. Interesting to see as they all come and approach now. Yep, he's straight in. So all of them, no, just the top 3. Is that Rosella? So this is where they've decided. I figured that might have been the case because Jared was really pushing, and to have that margin out, he was like, well, now I've got to use up what I've got. There's no point keeping it. And there's a number of cars that are all dialed into the lane now.
And the big thing is we did see Jared fuel saving. So 9 laps was guaranteed on the fuel tank every day of the week. There was no saving required for that. Jared did do a touch of fuel saving. I did just ride on board with Zach Rattray-White for a few pieces of that lap right there. To get to the end of the 10th lap, you did have to save in the realm of about 2 to 2.5 litres. So these boys right here were onto that very, very early. The problem is, have they got enough? Are they going to be able to carry the pace through to the end of this lap? Remember, the margin, 10, 11, 11. Those are the 3 stint lengths. So if somebody's going to make this 2-stop race work, they have to at least get to the end of lap 10. Any car that's already pit already is not eligible for that strategy to work. It is too much saving. So we're starting to get a little bit of that race picture building itself up. Damon Woods will close in now just a touch on teammate Zach Rattray-White. But these boys look like they're quite happy to work together is how things are.
Rejoined obviously after their pit stop. So Madison 9th, Jared in 8th. And yeah, like you said, it's not going to be too much longer before the rest of the field dive in and get their pit stops out of the way. But I guess the position that these guys are in, they know that they can just push now because obviously they've just had their stop. They'll think about probably what they need to get back to their ideal number. Oh, dive up the inside. Give each other plenty of room here. Ryan Jones holds on. Oh, another dive. Oh, geez, I love that. That was good. He just stuck the nose there. He was always thinking about throwing it up the inside, but very smart driving there. So Riley is all over the back. Love those camera shots.
The thing is, this is worthwhile keeping an eye on. Ryan Jones yet to pit. Jacob O'Reilly was one of the first cars to pit lane. So that sort of plays a little bit of the story and adds some more context to it. Jones has not yet come to pit lane and will have to do so. There's something that's going on for Brady Baldwin as well. I just heard him mic up. He's got something that'll be sent through to race control, and there's some roughing up that's continuing on for more of the DPR cars. Was that Ireland that was getting a little bit of a touch-up right there? I think it might have been.
Well, Elita, so Zach Rattray-White, he's in with Damon Woods, so they've gone that 1 lap longer than what Phil Cell did with Madison Down, Luke Rosella and all the rest of it. So they've managed to strap that extra lap out of it.
Tyson Broad also on the fuel save strategy. Does he go for the extra lap? Is he the first of the cars that are going to try it? Look at the amount of... Yeah, Tyson Broad is going to get 11 laps of fuel out of this tank. So he can go the margin, and he's done it on the first stint, which was the hardest of the lot of them. How far is he going to... He's already on the clutch, Sandman. That's how much fuel he's going to save. Look how close Madison Down's going to get to him. But this is going to create a drama for Madison. He wants to stay attached to Jared Philcell. And Broad's just going to touch in the way there, but he's on his strategy. He's playing out his strategy as best as he possibly can. Look at the big lift. And now the next car on the queue is Luke Rosello. He's going to come along at an awesome rate of knots off the crest of this hill.
It'd be interesting. We'll go quiet and we'll listen to see how much he saves.
He's
clutching. Yep. That's a long coast.
Did he pull it up? Yes, he did pull it up, and Andrew Gilliam bombed it up the inside as well.
And he only just got back on the power then. So, man, that was a long save. Poor. I don't know what to say. Is he going to be able to make it work? He clutched that for so long.
He did. And he is working and working and working away. But for Tyson, think about this. He qualified 36th.
Yeah, yep.
So, okay, let's drop another 10 spots. And remember we said there was something happened to Brady Baldwin. This will be it here. I think Brady might also be on the fuel save strategy as well. Maybe the back end of the field, but I don't think he'll make much of it back there. That's all we could find, unfortunately, for Brady. Tiny little touch with Hearing, just the tiniest of touches. But for Tyson Broad, this is critical because this is very, very relevant.
You can hear just how quiet it is when he starts to make it round the corner, and I go quiet just listening. You can hear him. Yeah.
The guys at the back, like, one up.
And down gear there, and listen to the clutch work he'll do under here.
I was lucky. I won't give away the state secrets, but I can tell you from a number of the drivers that I talked to, Broad's maximum fuel burn, his full rich fuel burn, was one of the lowest in the fields. So he actually had the least to save. So he was the most capable of doing it. And will make the end of that 11th lap, which means his last run to the flag will potentially only be... He's only got one 10-lap run to do here. One more 11-lap run, one more 10-lap run. Varndell made it. There's a few more cars that did make it. But the best of those... Is that Broad out of fuel? I think he's out of fuel in the pit lane. He was choking on the way to the box. So he made it. Just.
Yep. Wow. So now that gives us a bit of an understanding of what our front runners looks like. It's Philcell over Down, Rosello, Gilliam, Anderson into the top 5 now. Brady Myers in 6th, Damon Wood 7th, Pro Albert 8th, James Scott and Emily Jones round out in 10.
I can tell you Zach Rattrell has some sort of drama going on the pit lane. His pit stop transit time is 11 seconds longer than the bulk of the field. So he has lost out majorly. The one who hasn't lost out on that Eclipse Sim Stable, though, is up in the 6th spot, David Woods. Although, he's also put on a fair chunk of fuel. You know what? I reckon the Eclipse boys might be going on the fuel save strategy. They've cleared their 10-lap run here, which means they'll have to go deep on this run.
I don't think he put too much of a fight when Woods got past him into that braking zone. OG gear replay. These guys.
No tyres. Car never went up on the jacks.
Oh.
So he forgot.
No, he
wasn't in the bay.
He went. I spoke about it. Wasn't it something I spoke about? I said, if you just miss your mark and you have to back up, it's going to cost you. And unfortunately, that's exactly what happened.
Bummer. That cost him 10 seconds. 10. That's a huge margin. And that's frustrating because he was chasing that strong result. Last year, this was his best result of the season. And he was hunting for it. And this, again, right in the case of the top 5 at the start of the season, he was looking for it. As the season's progressed, he was right there.
I always feel like I did the commentator's curse because I mentioned it with Jared. I said how close it was, and if it happened to him, he'd go from 1st to 6th in a heartbeat. But unfortunately, it's happened, and that's exactly the flow-on effect. These cars were so close, and you just miss that mark and have to pull reverse and back up. It's just so costly.
Well, it was in, what, 4th spot at the time, and now he's 13th, so he's dropped 9. Now he's going to bob it down the inside. That's a late move on Rick Kuznetsov. Gets to the inside. Ton of wheel work at it. Touch fresher tyres. Can he get the drive out the other side? They are going to go down the hill side by side. The car's directly ahead of them. Cody Deeth is having a little bit of a crack at Emily Jones for the last spot inside the top 10 at the moment. And Rattray White gets a little bit of a gift and a little bit of a help from Rick Kuznetsov there. And Rick says, yeah, that one was not worth me trying to fight around the outside. Dylan Rudd, though, has a look at the pair of them and says, you know what? My time to pop up and into the picture and put a little bit of a statement down. Dylan Rudd, and you lean on Rick Kuznetsov a little bit. Kuznetsov will cut across the chicane. I don't know if that will be a slowdown penalty for the Triple Eight. It is for Rick Kuznetsov. So he's going to block. He's going to make this a little bit difficult for Dylan Rudd because he feels like he's been hard done by.
Oh, he's gone up the inside, so he's going to get it back. Oh, he's just given him a little bit of an elbow, just so he wasn't much appreciative of that, but he's managed to maintain position. So,
well, that's fair.
No, play on. I'm happy with that.
That's give and take. He was given the hard shoulder and he's given it straight back. So we want these boys to fight on, and fight on they are.
And at the same time, he managed to get that penalty out of the way too, that little time second penalty that he would have encountered. So got the slowdown, got it over and done with, and then, made a nice little move up the inside. But I agree, it's play on.
And I have to say, to be fair to both of them, neither of them have mic'd up, haven't reviewed either. I reckon they've both looked at it and gone, yeah, that's about fair enough, which is awesome. That's what I want to see. Righto. Here we go. So we do have a race of the fuel save strategy. Job Stewart is another one of those cars that made it to the end of 11 laps. He's second place in the queue of the drivers that are trying to make it happen. Well, Tyson, have a look at where Tyson popped out in the middle right now. So what, was it 8th or so when he pit? So what do you reckon? I reckon it's going to be somewhere inside the top 20, which means it's going to be a net gain of about 15 spots or so.
Yeah, and look, there's value in it. It's exactly what you touched on. You know, if you have an absolute shocker and you're down the back and you can leapfrog and make a heap of positions this way, then, you know, you take your hat off to him, because he's decided that from the very start. It was fuel saving from the get-go, and it's massive fuel saving too from what we're seeing. And, if he makes a gain out of it, then, it definitely works in his favour.
We'll have to see how much of a gain it is. In the meantime, on the game, Josh Anderson and Damon Woods are going to be scrapping it out. Anderson got to 9th spot in qualifying, up into the top 5, and Damon Woods has got a little bit more pace than him at the moment, so he says, yep, come on by. Let's see if you can pull me up to that next pack.
Yeah, I reckon Ando, again, he was just looking after his fuel, and it's probably the same thing that Myers did just a couple of laps ago. Did the exact same thing and just let him go. So good, smart thing by Anderson. Just let him go and see what he can save behind him.
Another driver is up actually a fair few spots at the moment, Teo Sorono, 35th to 24, so he's having a great scrap. And at the moment, I can tell you, and that's Rattray White firing down the inside. I think that was on Emily Jones, so he now moves back just outside the top 10. And the next driver I was just talking about, like I said, Griffin Gardner, Kurt Stenberg, and Teo Sorono are all in a little battle pack. And you see them from the shot? Yeah, right there.
Plenty of battles wherever you look around this racetrack. And it's just good racing. I love Spa. And again, we go on board and you can see Stenny. I don't know how he's not absolutely exhausted at the end of these races. The way he's up on the wheel like that. It obviously works for him though, because he's not resting back in the wheel. But geez, I love how he's up all over it. You can see he's really having a red hot go.
Well, I'll give you a cricket analogy. Remember when they tried to tinker with Jimmy Anderson's bowling action?
Yeah.
And he started injuring himself because his body had learned to deal with his action. So he went back to the way he knew. Yep. Because when they started tinkering with it, that's when the injuries happened. The muscles weren't there to support the changed action. And the man went on to be one of the greatest test bowlers of all time.
I love that shot because it showed steady when we got to that straightaway. He sort of slouched down a little bit, got comfortable, but then when he got to the corners, he's sort of up on the wheel again. So really interesting, and a big credit to Denny and anyone who shares their cameras with us. We love it for the broadcast. It really gives us a good insight for these drivers.
Now it's just a game of watching and waiting. Next pit stop window, next lap, at the end of lap number 16, will be the even strategy. 8-8-8-8 is what we're looking for. And we're still waiting to see if we're going to safety. When I talk to a whole bunch of drivers, Sam, man, the one thing that everyone said that will change it is extenuating circumstances. And the words extenuating circumstances are meant to imply BMW Logitech safety car. So they all said if you see that thing come out, we'll all be on the same strategy.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean that there's going to be a crash. Someone might be trying to save fuel and they get their calculations wrong, miss pit lane, and come to a complete stop somewhere on the racetrack. So that could throw things into chaos, you know. So it doesn't always mean that there's going to be, you know, a big massive incident where the safety car is going to come out. Someone might lunch a motor, someone might get their fuel wrong. But the one thing I am noticing as this race goes on, Jared Filsell now's got that margin out to 2 seconds over Madison Down. So he got it out to a second before the pit stops and now found himself another second. So I don't know the way this is playing out for the moment. I don't know if anyone's got anything for Jared. He's looking quite comfortable at this stage.
Yeah, well, they had the mockers over him in qualifying, but not so in race trim. And that will be what we're all looking at the moment. Madison's holding on quite comfortably to second spot, but it's really, I think this year's a battle for best of the rest as we see it dive down the inside. And that'll be in and around Jacob O'Reilly. And that'll be Matty Bowler who'll get down to the inside. He wanted it known. I have a correction to give to Matthew Bowler. I said he'd won himself a LAN event, and he had. He said, no, Scott, it was a little bit more serious than that. It was actually a little bit bigger name than you think. He's the Victorian esports champion. All right, Matty, you got me wrong. You are correct, technically correct. Victorian esports champion. But he also said, have you got any better words than American? You've used that one a fair bit. So, Muppet. Matty Bowler?
Oh, geez.
He's a ton of fun. He's lovely to chat to. His elbows up. He'll have a laugh. He'll have a giggle with you. But they were all roughing him up. The entire RT team were a hoot to hang out with because they're all having a joke and having a laugh with each other and a fair bit of fun.
Not a bad banner, though. Victorian esports champion. Good on him. Well done.
Considering some of the driving talent we have down in Victoria as well. But I had to get it right. I got it wrong. Adam Briggs is the guy that's in front of this battle pack at the moment. All the way out of Lismore in northern New South Wales. So it's only about 90 minutes north of the line too. So I managed to get an opportunity to catch up with Briggsy. And very into his go-karting when he was much, much younger. Sim racing a fair bit cheaper. So that as he got older. Less travel, less time away from the family too.
Yeah. I race karts as well, and you can vouch for it. It's definitely much cheaper doing the old sim racing. Yeah, Jay Kennedy behind the scenes have just given me a whack as well. Yeah. I did have a nice little accident in a go-kart and got a bit of a concussion, so
to be
Kennedy's
fair,
given me a whack for that.
Well, Jay Kennedy's a motocrosser, and I guarantee you motocross is just as bad because I've concussed myself a few times in a dirt bike, so... You guys don't get the joy of listening to Jay in our headsets, but I can tell you it's a hoot. It's a struggle to keep a straight face when he's on fire some evenings.
Joy, I think people say commiserations, isn't it? I'm going to give him a whack back. He gave me a whack, so...
If he lobs a few more of those pies, you might deposit him a few more times over the boundary rack too.
So anyway, back to the racing action, lap 16 and 32. Jared Filsell still 2 seconds over Madison Down and Luke Rosella there, still having that red hot go. But yeah, look at that. Yeah, you can see it on track just out that margin. It looks a little bit daunting, doesn't it, when Madison looks ahead and sees that gap sort of starting to stretch out. But yeah, the Lobs boys, first, third and fourth. yeah, Madison's got his hands full for the moment.
Well, you see something on the racetrack starting to build up as well as worthwhile, and that also might be another one of the reasons we're starting to see less overtakes starting to happen, because people are more interested in defending down the inside, and the outside and quite close to the racing line is unfortunately a build up of marbles. And I was talking to a few of the drivers up and down the field, and they said, yeah, we prefer the overcut. Undercut's nice because it gets you the track position. But we like the overcut because it's so much easier to pass when you've got the overcut. And the reason for that, you line them up, you get along the inside, you put them on the marbles, and as soon as they're on the marbles in the braking zone, forget it. The pass is done.
Yeah, and that's a great shot that Jay just brought up there, the gravel, you know, it's just, if a car just runs wide, and the new build where they're throwing up gravel and grass and muck up onto the racetrack, as we see Jordan Ross, he's in the lane as well. So, that's Brady Baldwin, so he's in as well. But yeah, you've got to be careful. The garbage and the muck that gets up on this racetrack, that can play a big part too. And sometimes, you know, with all that gravel on the racetrack, it takes maybe a lap or two just for it to clear up just on the racing line. So if you're brave enough to make a move when there's gravel there up the inside, you've got to make sure that you've got your wits about you and don't cause too much drama.
We wanted to talk about how much time it was going to cost, and this was the big thing when I was talking to a few of the teams up and down the field about fuel saving. I'm just keeping an eye on lap times. Tyson Broad, last time by, remember he's the lead car in terms of that fuel saving strat, 2.7 seconds lost to race leader Jared Filson. A lap. And that's because he's trying to make it. But the big thing will be that final stint. He'll actually be able to lift the pace a little bit if he goes 11 laps here.
Yeah, I think me personally, I think I'm the kind of driver, like I said, I've never been a good driver to save fuel, so I like to be able to just push as hard as I can for the entire race. But you know, we've seen smart strategies play out, and you know, it makes your life just that little bit easier if you can save fuel. And it'd be nice if it works out. And you know, like you touched on it before, you get that gain of maybe 10 positions out of it. You know, that still works out to be a good night if you have a shocker in qualifying.
So at the moment, P15 is 20.6 seconds off the race lead. Tyson Broad is 56.4 seconds off the race lead. That is about 36 seconds in terms of that transit time. And 25.0 was the last time by for 15th placed Kobe Williams. 27.4 was the lap time for Tyson Broad, so 2.4 seconds. That margin between those guys. Guys in the pit lane as well. Brenton Hobson is going to be the first. That group in the pit lane. Adam Briggs will follow him in. Jacob O'Reilly and Griffin Gardner. So here we go. Second round of pit stops is starting to come our way.
It's a little bit processional for the moment, isn't it? Obviously, these guys aren't going to put too much pressure on each other with pit stops just around the corner. That's a great shot there, just showing you just the margin it is that's covering these guys. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's your top 10 there. And that's a decent margin. You know, Jared's just slowly opening up. It's nearly 3 seconds now over Madison down. So Jared looking quite comfortable. And the way his cars look tonight and the way he's driven, I don't know that anyone's going to have much for him as this race goes on. So it might be a battle for the last 2 steps on the podium between Down, Rosella and Gilliam at this stage.
And battle away they will. Just watching and wondering when they start to go out there. Just watching Andrew Gilliam enter the Lafayette chicane. There was a lot of problems trying to get the car to bite in the front end initially. Once it did, it actually hooked up quite well. Worthwhile knowing, maybe. It's he'd be recently returned from a trip to the top end. Andrew Gilliam going to work on Richie Stanaway's car. And how about that for an interesting little partnership is that Gilliam engineering for Stanaway in the real world, Stanaway repays the favour working with him in the sim.
Yep, so fair, isn't it?
Well, at least you can trust the help you've got on board, I suppose. It's a benefit.
That's it. And I do love that how much of, you know, as we talk about pit stops, so that's Down, Rosella, Gilliam. They're all dive straight into the pit lane. Yep, Phil Sell's in as well. I didn't see that tick over. So, yes, he's done that. So, lap 18 of 32, and a majority of the other guys that are behind there, they're all decided to make a pit stop as well. We did see those Eclipse cars go longer, so Cody Death, he stayed out.
Oh, gee, look at them all firing.
Yeah.
There's very few cars
Everyone.
staying out. Yeah. So, Jake Maloney was a lapped car, remember, due to his issues with whether it was PC, whether it was internet connection, it doesn't matter. Either way, he's dropped out of the server. Ratro White will be an interesting one to keep an eye on. I have good news for you. He pulled it up in the box this time.
Oh, Madison's had a shocker of a pit stop. He's now dropped to 4th. Obviously, I say 4th when it's obviously when it's all come round. He's dropped the 2 spots of both the. Hold on, this Phil Cell's dropped a spot 2, I think. So Gilliam's jumped down and Phil Cell.
Well, down Phil Cell and Rosella as well. Have a look at the wheel work that Madison down. Just had to put the thing across the crest at Radion. And have a look at the difference in pit stop times. 3.7 seconds longer in the bay compared to Luke Rosella. So what was the time like then compared to Gilliam? Because Gilliam would have had a splash of fuel he threw in the thing there.
He's obviously done something different, and it's given him track position. That's that's incredible, isn't it?
It's only 2.8 seconds. But he's jumped. There was a shorter time in box for Luke Rosella, but Gilliam's jumped him massively. So whatever, Rosella's had an issue getting to the box there. I wonder whether or not he may have just gone through his pit stall.
It's interesting. We almost need a replay, don't we, of maybe an above camera angle in the pit lane just to see when they all pull into their boxes and see exactly what happened, because so much changed in that, and now we've got the lobs 1, 2, 3.
Well,
different
actually, this is getting interesting as well, because that's Lachlan Capel's yet to pit right in front of the pair of them. So at the moment, he's just sitting on the racetrack, and Andrew Gilliam tried to show the nose. That is not an easy location to show it. He will get down the inside when they get to Stavilo here at the next right-hander. And have a look at Capel. Couldn't turn the car in. Was on the marbles. Gilliam's going to have Phil Cell crawling all over, and they're going to go side by side with under Blanchimont. Remember, teammates got into each other last time out. Phil Cell's got the pace. You would assume he should be comfortable in this one, and Gilliam's let him go. That's smart. That's absolutely smart. You're a touch closer. But that's throwing the cat amongst the pigeons, because this group that was spread, that was split up, are all tied back together again. Oh, boy.
Yes, that really spices things up now at the front. Looks like Jared Philsell's now gained that position back over Gilliam, Rosella. So Cody Death is still out there. He's got that 17-second margin, but still got a pit stop to make. So for the moment, our effective race leader is Jared Philsell.
So this is the pit lane entry. Have a look at how far ahead Philsell is when he pulls the car up. Down shoots through, nice and accurate. And Rosella had to reverse a few feet. But he recognised that he pulled reverse very quickly there, compared to the issues we saw for Ratray White earlier. Oh boy, this is becoming interesting. How long will Cody Death go? He needs to go at least to the end of lap 21 if he's going to try and make it home on the 2-stop strategy.
Yeah, and then of course give up that track position, and we're saying how many, 40 odd seconds when he's in the pit lane, which will bring him back in what, maybe 18th position?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. We just can't really do much with it at the moment. Tyson Broad at the moment on his strategy is 19th on the track, which effectively this is about where he's going to pop out when the strategy shakes itself out, potentially. Maybe a couple of spots further back, so 20 and 21st, which means, again, like I said, that's a gain. That is a big net gain. Have a look at the junk on the road there. So somebody's gone off through the Lafania chicane at some point.
We've got 12 laps to go still. So they're going to have to come down the lane one more time?
Yep.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting. But in saying that, it's going to be a very, very quick splash. There's going to be nothing in it. The car won't be stationary very long.
So remember, the compulsory pit stop rules are that there is 2 compulsory pit stops. But field tonight, fuel drop required 3 pit stops. Is it for the best? Is it for the worst? You should have a say along at home as well. It is a shorter fuel tank, and there are controls allowing a reduction in the size of the fuel tank in the sim. Those have been exercised. That's Cody Death in the pit lane. So he will have to go. He's not going to make it. That's the end of lap 20. So he will have another stop to make as well.
I don't mind it. I think it just throws a cat amongst the pigeons, and you know, you just never know how these races are going to play out. Whether there's safety cars, whether there's someone rolling the dice and saving fuel, and then a safety car comes out at the right time, or if it doesn't and it penalises people. That's what can happen. So I like that the organisers have just thrown out there something different. Why should it be? Yes, there's 2 mandatory stops. Why should it only be 2 stops for this round? If they have to either try and desperately save the fuel where it looks like they can't to eliminate a pit stop, then so be it. Everyone races hard and just makes another trip down pit lane. So I like that the options are there and that they're available. And of course, we never knew how. Oh, as we watched this action here, there was contact. He's going to go around. He saved it though, thankfully. Not happy either. Flash of the lights for Dylan Rudd. Wasn't impressed about the contact, but thankfully he didn't end up off in the gravel trap. I'll just quickly finish off on what I was saying. You never know coming into this round whether it was going to rain, and then of course that affects fuel mileage as well. So I like that there's something different in the series, and that the teams had to really think about it.
And this will be Rick Kuznetsov and Dylan Rudd going toe-to-toe on Trading Paint again. So Rick gets a little bit wide, has to rejoin, runs it a touch wide there again, but he straightens him back out. But that's the 3rd or 4th time those 2 guys have traded paint.
Just got to keep the panel beaters in business.
Well, it's still working, so either way, on with the show. There's those marbles building up just off the edge of the line. Look at how they dot the racetrack.
And running there wide, you can see the cars that just get that left rear into the gravel, kick all that up onto the racetrack. You notice that when you come round, and of course the iRacing service gives you that debris flag that comes up on the screen, so it gives you some sort of warning that there's garbage and trash on the racetrack, so be prepared for it. And it's very noticeable around here when you get up in the gravel.
Update on that one has been referred to the stewards. The stewards will be having a look at the touch between Kuznetsov and Dylan Rudd. Kobe Williams is going to see defending champion to his inside and clear as they enter the bus stop chicane. And then out the other side as well. What about our lead group? What they like the time through the pit lane? I really want to keep an eye on. Well, the most fuel in the group is Jared Philsell. Hands down, not even close. What was Madison Down able to do? He has closed on that group a fraction through the cycle. The big thing for Andrew Gilliam is it was a very, very quick stop compared to the guys around him, but it also means a lighter race car, and that's allowing him to build some margin here.
But then has he got enough to get home? So obviously, he's still got to make that pit stop. So it's that how much stationary he's going to be in the lane. It's not going to be much. There'll be absolutely nothing in it. But again, you've got to hold your breath and make sure that no one has a mistake again and misses their marker. If you overshoot again, that'll really shoot him in the foot.
I believe that's going to be Zach Rattray White getting down the inside of Emily Jones as that one starts to resolve itself. It'll be Rattray White back inside of the top 10. Next target, Bo Albert. He's had a quiet night at the office tonight, hasn't he?
Yeah, qualified well. Obviously, we spoke about, in the lead up, in previous rounds too, he'd had dramas with the sim rig, so he'd be happy that he's in his rig now and getting comfortable and finding pace, and Logitech G Mustang looks the part too, so good to see him inside the top 10. He'd obviously like to be that little bit closer to the rest of the field, but it's not a bad night. He's in good company when you start to finish inside the top 10 in this field.
Moment, I think it's just all patience up at the head of the field. Just starting to watch it. Like we said, that instant between Rick Kuznetsov and Dylan Rudd. See those markers on the left-hand side of your timing tower? Noodle update, that incident is being looked at. That's what they will signify. For now, that field spread is starting to kick in. Sean McNamara is actually having a blinder at the moment. He's up in the 12th spot, started 26th. That's a huge, huge gain for him.
That's great.
So plus 14 spots at the moment. Don't forget, we've got the OG Hard Charger to award at the end of the race as well to the driver who gains the most spots. Worthwhile having a little bit of a check-in at the moment to positional gains. And it is Sean that leads the way at the moment. Serrano's not doing too bad. We'll have a look at how close it is. Dylan Pereira will pop his head up above water and gain 13 spots at the moment. So there is still some fighting to come. And remember, that hasn't resolved itself yet because we have a fuel battle in the middle of all that to resolve itself. And Rick Kuznetsov and Dylan Rudd continue to trade paint.
It's all a bit of a waiting game now, isn't it, Scotty? It's just they're all just sort of playing their cards, and we'll think about, so you can see Van Del, he's in the lane, but Ward's just made his pit stop, so he's now back on the racetrack to go all the way to the end.
This is Sebastian Van Del. Job Stewart's another one. So all these guys now filled to go home. Any pit stops you see from here, ladies and gentlemen, will get these cars home. We are now in that window, 10 laps to go, and the best part for those cars, it's no longer 900 mils worth of saving a lap. It is 2.4 litres, it's about 200 mil. 200 to 250 mil a lap for this final run of the flag. So their pace is going to come up significantly. Well, that lead group's got a few more cars in it too now, doesn't it?
Just noticed that with that shot. So it's Lobs 1, 2, 3 and TTR 4, 5, 6. I just haven't paid attention, but that fluctuation that we've seen in that track temperature with that graph, that was really interesting through quali, wasn't it? I don't remember a time where it had that much fluctuation through a session. So it was interesting. Maybe I just haven't been paying too much attention to it, but it was certainly interesting, wasn't it, through qualifying?
Big racetrack as well, with a lot of room for the crowds to come over the track, so that will play a part into it. There was some updates to the weather system again, as there always tends to be at the back end of a season, so this is the first time since then. And don't forget, we've got the next round of GT Pro coming up as well, which is, I don't know if you've driven it yet, Sam, but completely overhauled tyre and aero model for all of the GT3 cars.
Yep.
And I believe the next round of that's also at Spa.
Well, great series that is. The tip that's for next weekend. So, yeah, loving the GT Pro series. That's really been some good watching. I sit back and watch it and think, geez, I'd love to be a part of that. Obviously don't have the talent, but really enjoy kicking back and watching that broadcast. So some really good steerers and yeah, a really good series. And it's only its first year, so that series I think has got so much potential. And you know, in the years to come, I reckon we're going to see some really exciting racing out of that series.
What do you think of the car selection format too? With all the GT3 options, you pick 2 and then you're stuck with the 2 for the year.
Love it. When you think about real world, you build one car and you're stuck with that for the entire year. So, you know, obviously we're in a little bit of a situation, aren't we, where, you know, cars get sort of little upgrades and they might be a little bit better than others, and, you know, you might have a good car at the start of the season and then they do an update to it and it might not be the best car come the end of the season. So I guess there's nice that they've got that little bit of flexibility. And again, it's just a different option that these teams and drivers need to think about.
There's a redress just issued to Lachlan Capel, who just had to let Jacob O'Reilly through after something happened between those two just recently. Racing Controls jumped on that one. They've redressed it. Now they go back to it. So we'll have an update on exactly what went on shortly. Damon Woods is actually going to be the first driver. He's dived to the lane. Here we go, final pit stops. And it'll be 8 laps to go. So that's the even run to home. He's looking for that fresh set of tyres and that fraction of an undercut and a couple of cars ahead of him, and he was catching them as well. This should be a very short stop for Damon Woods. He had a lot of fuel on board. Now I have a fair bit less. This is to run out of pull on between Capel and O'Reilly. Yeah, elbows in.
Yeah, that's fair. Yep. Just need to readdress that. Horse bearing one more.
Oh,
We can walk. They got away with it. Yeah, a number of cars in the lane.
well, here they all come. The run to home. Sean McNamara, Brenton Hobson, Dylan Rudd, Matt Bowler. So it's a mixture of cars. There's no two cars from any one team there either. It's just a mixture. As we start to see it. What are the leaders going to do? How long will they sit back, watch and wait? That lead group then comes back together a little bit. The biggest thing to remember is the two TTR cars that are hanging onto the back of it. Josh Anderson in 5th spot, Brady Myers in 6th spot. Also have the lightest fuel loads of that group. Another car, Stenberg will rejoin to the track, and that's right ahead of Tyson Broad. So there you go, there's sort of where those two pop out together. And the issue for Damon Woods at the moment, he's got a fresh set of tyres on, and he looks down the road and he sees, unfortunately, Jack Willis, who's just going about his race, a little bit older rubber. And here he goes, he'll go for the aggressive dive here, but he's got to get on with his race because he come in for an undercut.
Yeah.
Down in traffic, which is not what he wanted, and now he's on the outside through the Lafania chicane. Room given by Willis.
Good racing.
And Woods will seal that deal. But what does that cost him? What has that taken out of the tyres?
Oh, so Madison stayed out. So Gilliam, they're in. Oh, the other two TTR cars. That's interesting. Madison's the only ones that decided to stay out.
Oh, Jared Philsell. There you go. There is two that have decided to stay out.
Oh, that's interesting, isn't it?
But the big thing is that that will be, I reckon Mads looked at them all thinking about diving, and he's gone, all right, I'm going to go one up longer. That'll make pit lane transit a little bit easier.
Yes, yeah, especially breaking into the lane. You don't want a concertina effect if someone's checking up in front of you. So, yeah, it'd be interesting. I expected probably all the teams to do the exact same thing, but it's nice they've broken it up. Gilliam's got that little bit of margin now. And there's Damon Woods. Oh, he's going to get past both TTR cars in Anderson. Yep, he's got that done. So Anderson and Myers, he got the position. So
I tell you what, this is going to work out really well for him because he's now right up and on the back of Luke Rosella.
Yeah.
Rosella's dropped a ton of time to Andrew Gilliam, and Rosella was slow up through Eau Rouge Radillon. There was a lot of wheel work going on because the tyres were cold. So he is going to get right the way there as Damon Woods. Now what pressure can he apply to the rear bumper of the 55 Lobs Esports Mustang?
And Woods, don't forget, sitting 6th in the championship at the moment coming into tonight. So he's now up against it as we just check out the OG Gear replay. Look at the slide that these cars do up through that part of the racetrack. I love it. It's hold your breath stuff up through there. There's so much time to be gained and lost. And you can have one of the biggest shunts to your life too if you get it all wrong there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if you don't want it to go wrong, Eau Rouge Radillon is about one of the worst spots. Because, yes, there is a ton of runoff in a big old tyre barriers. Feed you back towards the racetrack, unfortunately. When it does go wrong on lap 1, it is an immense accident at the crest of that hill. But keep an eye on it. What are they able to do? Because Damon Woods has got fresher tyres. He's got warmer tyres. 3/4 of the way up to temperature and pressure now for Luke Rosella.
I think Phil's on down. They need to pit this lap.
They've got to.
They can't afford. Like, look at the margin. Oh no! So Phil Cell stayed out. Down is in. I like it. I like that Jared's rolled the dice. He's got a different mindset. It's his teammates that he's got to worry about too. Gilliam's got a nice little margin over Luke Rosella, and then Rosella's got his hands full with Damon Woods. So still a lot to play out. Cody Death is in the mix too, but he's still got to stop.
Well, there's a huge battle going on. Lachlan Capel's come out just ahead of Kurt Stenberg, and these two are bluing at the moment through the defending chicane. I've nearly seen them train paint 3 or 4 times. And remember, Tyson Broad just popped out in behind them, so there's Madison down. Where is he going to feed into this lead lap battle?
Yeah. He'll drop one spot to Gilliam, will he?
Andrew Gilliam will get on by, but remember, Andrew Gilliam last time by underfueled that car a fraction, and he had to save later on the race. I wonder whether or not he might have done the same here. So gets the run on. He's got warm tyres as they go through a Rouge Radion, but now he'll be punching the hole in the air.
Look at that margin. So Jared Filsell's got 30 seconds up his sleeve, and he's still's got a pit stop to make.
But he will have the shortest stop of the lot of them. That's worthwhile pointing out. With the most fuel on board at the second stop of the day. And remember I said there was a battle pack going on? Have a look at the car in the background of that one. That is Tyson Broad. Well, Tyson was a little bit behind these guys, and then they decided to have a blue on. Well, he's going to roll up right on top of them in terms of fuel saving. That's exactly what... Look at the margin. That was cheeky.
Yeah, that was lucky. I thought Stenberg was going to turn him round there, but they managed to get away with it. Gave each other some racing room. There wasn't much there, but they all kept pointing in the right direction. That's the main thing.
You say gave each other some racing? I don't think there was much room given.
It was enough where they didn't make contact and spear each other from the fence, so I guess there was just enough.
That's all you need at the end of the day. James Scott going to rejoin just outside the top 10. 15th on the road at the moment for him. Quentin Hobson's made some gains tonight. Oh, sorry, my apologies. He started out on the 11th. He's actually made a couple of positions off. Because Netsov's actually up a few spots. So he's doing reasonable at the moment. Just outside the top 10.
And closing that margin on Filsell. It was 30 seconds. It's 27, 26. I when he was in the lane. There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
I saw it drop and he had to be in the lane. So this is effectively the race lead. Where's he going to come out? Gilliam's got his hands full. He's got Madison down right there. So these two are going to battle it hard. Filsell in the lane. Hasn't made a stop yet. So he's just coming to a stop, as you can see now. And the guys are just coming into that final chicane. I think Jared might be fairly comfortable here.
Did he not go up on the jacks then? Jared Filsell. I don't necessarily think he's gone up on the jacks here. Is it? No, he is. My apologies. Yep. That was just the angle for the shot.
So he'll come out. He's got this.
Yeah. But he will be on colder tyres behind these guys. And it's definitely a lot closer to them than he was before.
Well, how's the shake-up? We said it was a Lobs 1, 2, 3 and then a TTR 4, 5, 6. It's not the case now because Madison now with Gilliam in second. Madison's in third for TTR. Luke Rosella is in fourth. Damon Woods now into fifth. Josh Anderson back to sixth. Brady Myers is seventh. Zach Retro White in eighth. Bo Albert ninth and Cody Deeth in 10th. Oh, Jacob O'Reilly's had some dramas.
Something going on for him.
Yeah, did he have a helping hand or did he just go in a little bit deep? Check out replay. He's gone in deep.
Oh, crossed it over all on his own. And the car ahead of him is Tyson Broad on that fuel saving strap as well. So as that sort of checked him up and he's had to jerk the wheel to the inside, come off the brake a little bit to try and pull that car up. Got balked a fraction. Settled himself down. James Scott will get through on Brenton Hobson. One spot back. For him.
A gold member. P15 for Brenton.
Look at how close it is up front.
I don't know that anyone, to be honest, I don't know that anyone's got anything for Jared. So he makes a mistake and turns it to custard. But I'll tell you what, it's on between Gilliam and Down.
Madison's really a lot closer.
Yeah.
But the big thing is, I've seen Madison fuel saving just about every lap. Now, Gilliam did not get the run that he was looking for. And he's going to cover to the left-hand side of the road. The run to Blanchimont. This is a place where it's all about bravery. They're going to lean on each other as they get into the braking zone here. It'll be brave to go around the outside. Will he pull it up? Yes, he will from Andrew Gilliam. But what does Madison Down have a reply? Remember, that there might be a fuel offset here.
Smart driving though. Madison just got out of it there. There was no point going side by side. If he'd got pushed wide, he'd probably have a slow down and it could have been really really devastating for him. He's going to try to the outside here, maybe a little bit of a crossover here, but Gilliam would be awake to that, and he was. Just checked up a little bit mid-corner, and it's a great little battle between Gilliam and Down with 4 laps to go.
And just remember that stat I said all the way back at the top of the show. Last 2 years, podium has been resolved in the steward's office.
Yeah.
Including the race win in 2023.
I'm surprised that Philsell hasn't pulled away. Is he dropping back just to give that little bit of draft maybe to Gilliam? I'm not sure. He's down.
Oh, here comes Madison down. He got a lot further up alongside than I think he realised at Andrew Gilliam. Now they will bang doors.
Oh, Down can hold on.
Twice. Now it's up to the crest at Malmedy. They'll flick it back to the right. Madison will slow. Both slide. Touch of the gravel on the outside. Gilliam tries to come across for the slide drive. Down goes through. Back to second spot on the road.
Good racing. That was good, hard racing. They gave each other that little bit of space. Always tricky for Gilliam when he's up on the outside. He was up on that curb, close to the gravel. Madison knew he had position, and now he just needs to push on, try to put a little bit of margin between himself and Gilliam. But now Philsell, with that little bit of battle between Down and Gilliam, Philsell's now got that margin to 1.3. Here we go. OG gear
Much
replay.
later on the brakes too.
Up the inside. Look at the room. They give just a tiny little touch there. Racing margin there. They've done it again through the right-hander. And that's where Gilliam, he's up on that curb there. And Down's just got position. Great angle and great racing. Good respect between the two.
Well, the thing is, I think if you are probably even only a third alongside heading down the hill on the Rivage, you've pretty much got priority down there. It's going to be tough to pull it up and park it up on the outside. But room and respect shown and given. And Down has immediately pulled some significant margin out of Andrew Gilliam as well. So as Gilliam underfueled this car just a fraction, and now he's forced to go back into saving mode because, again, that's what he did last time out at Detroit Belle. Get the track position, make them fight you for it.
Yeah, that's it. And I guess you could take a little bit of comfort knowing that he's got Luke Rosella and a teammate behind him too. So, you know, although in saying that, I know Luke would be pretty keen to get that last step on the podium. So if they were going to battle it out, I wonder if there's, you know, papaya rules, so to speak, within win lobs. But we'll see with 3 laps to go. He's still got to close up that margin if he wants to have a crack at Gilliam.
What do you reckon, Cyan roots? Royal
Could
Blue
be.
roots? Lobbit and Hope roots? It's in the name. Whatever the margin, whatever the marketing strategy may be, the big marker for Rosella is first he has to try and climb the mountain to come. 3 laps left of this racetrack. We'll be under 20 kilometres already.
Cody Deeth having a crack at Bo. Bo's going to make him go around the outside. He's awake to that though. Cody was like, no thanks.
I think Cody just said on the radio, is that I know I've got 10 seconds. He hasn't actually elected. So 10 penalties in the sim. It is optional. You may serve it at your pit stop if you want. But I don't think Cody Deeth wanted to serve it at the pit stop was what I thought I heard on the radio, but he does get to the inside of Bo Albert, still alongside. As they go into No Name around the outside, runs to the touch wide though, so Bo gets the drive off.
Yep. Bo's capitalise on that. Great little battle. Yeah, it's always interesting when you've got a penalty hanging over your head. He's decided to push on.
I'm not confident on what I heard there, but that's what I thought I heard was, don't worry about it, I've got a 10-second penalty. Well, I don't know, that changed when they got the Rivage.
Playing mind games. Who knows?
Something's just happened to Tyson Broad. And it'll be potentially one of the cars. The thing is, no, it's not. I was just having a quick look. Is it Job Stewart? Job Stewart's also on the fuel save strategy that they're on. And it might be down at Rivage. To check this out, that's Malmedy at the crest of the hill, and this is one of the trickiest corners on this place. To pull it up downhill and off camber. Wait, traded?
it's over yet. Oh, got to be careful. Car on the outside. Little excursion through the gravel too.
That's Jacob O'Reilly, the Million Esports car that's in behind those two. And that's Bo, I think, finally yielding as well to Cody Deeth.
There, there's a bit of margin there. Here we go. Ask and you shall receive as we go to the OG Gear replay. I'm seeing this for the first time with you guys at home. So does he make a move up the inside, Bo Albert? Yes, he does. Dives, doesn't quite pull it up. That's the crisscross. Oh, so that hurt him. He lost that little bit of time.
I just did receive confirmation that Cody Deeth has not served his penalty, so there will be 10 seconds added to his post-race time. So I did just want to get some check-ins on that one because most of the drivers do tend to serve at the pit stop, but again, it is optional. You don't have to.
Looks like, so Cody's had to back out of it. He's got a slow down penalty, so Bo Albert's now back in front of him. These boys aren't giving an inch, are they, with 2 laps to go?
No, they are not. Damon Woods has not been able to make much ground back on Luke Rosella anymore. Gilliam's holding station with Madison down, not really gaining anything back up the head of the field, but this is sort of the next group of cars it's worthwhile keeping an eye on. Something happened to James Scott on this lap. Or is it something happened to Rick Kuznetsov? It might have been Kuznetsov. Either way, white flag will be in the air. One more lap left to run for Jared Filsell. And it's been another round of dominance from Spa. A little bit of nerves in the middle of the race, but I think that was just fuel management, race management continuing on. The battle's still on for P2 at the moment. Luke Rosella's just lost touch with them a little bit. Woods is starting to take margin out of Luke Rosella, but 0.7 of a second at the start of the lap. There's probably not enough time left for him to overcome that. About Zachary White, this could have been a first potential podium for him. He was right there and in that conversation. Made the mistake at the first pit stop.
Anderson trying his absolute best to see if he can get a sniff to the back of Damon Woods too, but he's not close enough. So they're all going to hold position here on this last half of the lap so far. Jared Filsell, he's dominated. He's done really well. I think it was well executed at the start. There was a couple of times when he could have dove up the inside of Madison down, I should say, and Jared was just quite content to sit. But then when he did pounce, he opened up that margin pretty quickly, and when it came to pit stops, he got him done, and now he finds himself 2.5 seconds up the road, and it'll be another win for the moment for Jared Filsell. He's an amazing 2025, hasn't he? All but one race so far.
Yep. And it required something pretty special in that race to take it from him, something unique, strategy.
Oh, Scott, I'm just looking, James Scott, sorry to cut you off, mate, dropped back down to 20th position. What's just happened there to James Scott?
I think he might have had an issue with his race session because I don't see him in the race server at the moment. He started the final lap in 12th spot and he was set to finish about there, and I don't think he's out there anymore. So we're about to lose James Scott from the server, won't make the finish line. He'll finish 1 lap down.
P3 in the championship for James Scott too. Wow. Oh no, he's back in 12th. So maybe he's just having issues with the server. So hopefully he can make it home.
Yeah, he's in behind Cody Deeth at the moment. I can actually see him. But on the run to home, the man that continues to lead them all. He's dominated here tonight like he has dominated the season so far. And at this point in time, he's going to light it up and start the celebrations early because why not? Jared Filsell wins it from Spa. I tell you what, every year from this place, he has crossed the start-finish line first. Every single time on track, he's won it on track. Has not been beaten, and the record continues for another year. Madison Down, Andrew Gilliam rounding out the podium. These guys just outside the top 10 are still wrapping on with it.
Oh, is he going to hold position? It's going to be a drag race. Oh, a little bit of contact there as a run to the flag. Oh,
Sean
still some
McNamara
bip and barge. Oh.
holds off Matthew Bowler, but will lose the spot to Kobe Williams on the final lap of the race.
Wow.
So that resolves itself. Jack Widdis, PB for him for the season, home in his 18th spot for the number 018. How's that for a little number and a marker? Ian Ford will get into the back. The car just ahead of him, which would be Andre Yusuf. Tyson Broad, where did he finish on that strategy? He finished 25th. So it was a gain of 11 spots. Didn't necessarily work out for him. He would have been thinking, oh, maybe it would have worked out massively. Well, he did gain, but not insanely. And Hayden Veld, the damage on the front of that race car, gets the racetrack just about all to himself.
Just enjoy these last few corners as he drives that beautiful Logitech G Mustang around to take the checkered flag. A night that he'll be pretty keen to forget about, I think, and start concentrating on the next round.
Job Stewart did the fuel save strategy as well, but he started 18th, finished 24th. So he actually lost out overall as a result of that.
There you have it. Spa again. There's so many different twists and turns that could have played out. Rain didn't become a factor. Safety cars didn't become a factor. It all came down to good hard racing. A little bit of biff and barge throughout the way, but that's what we like. These supercars don't mind a little bit of rubbing, bit of panel beating and belting up over the curbs, as we saw, especially Jared Fielso in that Lobs car. They were annihilating those curbs and the car looked really good. And he really did the job tonight. And he'll still continue to lead the points after round 5. Yeah,
that he will. Only one result separates him from the perfect season thus far, and to be perfectly honest, he's that far ahead at the moment. He is looking like it is going to take some real struggles in the back half of the championship. Jared Filsell gets another one done here from Spa-Francorchamps. Madison Down qualifies on pole, takes the play seat pole position. Started pretty confident all the way back at the games and grid walk, and didn't quite manage to get it done in terms of translating to race pace. P2 is a huge bank of points he was looking for. Andrew Gilliam's been pretty quick and pretty consistent now the last couple of rounds. He's starting to put a strong showing together in the season for P3. Luke Rosella will net his best result of the season in 4th. Damon Woods continues to be consistent. 5th spot, Josh Anderson's. Again, he's not having bad rounds for Endo. He's having, I would say, good rounds. He'd love to lick the stamp and finally put one to a great round. Brady Myers was the winner last time out at Detroit Belle. Not so here tonight. Zach Rattray White, pit stop mistake for him that cost him 10 seconds means that he would have finished well, effectively somewhere around 7th spot on the racetrack, a little bit behind, but had to squabble his way back through. Does manage to take home 8th spot. Bo Albert, I'll stop listening to him when he says he's not confident. Top 10 result for him. He's actually the best of the Evolution Racing Team cars. He finishes there in 9th, and you just wonder, Robbie Gibbs, I reckon he would have been inside that 10 the way that he's been looking of late. Dylan Rudd will round out the top 10. After he enjoyed trading paint how many times with Rick Kuznetsov, they might have to send each other Christmas cards this year to get over it. Cody Deeth will get home in 11th spot from Emily Jones. Emily gained a couple spots on lap 1 with a great start and hung on to most of them throughout the night. Rick Kuznetsov from Brenton Hobson. Kobe Williams will round out the top 15. Sean McNamara gained a ton of spots for him, so lap 1 was quite critical. Got through there nice and clean. Inside the top 20, Matthew Bowler from Jack Widdis, Adam Briggs and Tario Serrano. Those are the cars home inside the top 20. Then we get back outside to that battle between Kurt Stenberg and Lachlan Cable trading paint. Stenny came out on top in that one. Griffin Gardner home just behind them. Wouldn't have been confident. The first of the cars to come home on the fuel strategy, Job Stewart home in 24th spot. Remember I said qualified 18th, didn't necessarily good for him. But I have a feeling for Job there was some issues all the way back on lap number 1. And he just transitioned over to that fuel save strategy as a result. Tyson Broad will be the second of those cars home on that strategy. Jacob O'Reilly had some wars, unfortunately, tonight, but still home inside the 30. Andre Yusuf, Ian Ford, Dylan Pereira and Jordan Ross, both of them gaining a ton of spots inside the 30. Brady Baldwin, contact and issues for him, but still home 31st on the lead lap. Jack Andrews as well, debut of the season. Reasonable night at the office, 32nd for him. Jake Blackwell, Brian Borg, Ryan Jones, after issues in Hayden Veld, damaged the front end of that car. He stayed on the lead lap. James Scott didn't get classified on that last lap after all of that and falls from inside the top 15 all the way to 37th. Jake Maloney 38th. Sebastian Vandel and Glenn Postlethwaite, 2 retirements tonight, 8 and 19 laps from home, respectively. And I think we had a couple more, which was Chris Ireland and Dylan O'Shea were the other 2 retirements. And for Dylan O'Shea, all that damage all the way back. Start of the race, fairly early retirement for him.
Yeah, it has a heartbreak for Scott. That's, P3 in the championship coming into tonight, and to take that hit in the points, obviously with some connection issues or something like that, and unfortunately it didn't count him as a finisher and finishes a lap down. That's heartbreak when it's out of your control. I guess we talk about it, isn't it? It's our 50-cent part that can bite us, and unfortunately that issue has robbed him of a decent amount of points.
Yeah, it has, unfortunately, for James Scott. But if you're wondering what could have been, and I wonder what there will be a little bit of discussion. Also, just seeing that there will be a post-race redress. Remember that contact we saw at the final corner? Kobe Williams and Sean McNamara. So they're just going to swap those positions around on the points for the contact on that last lap, which is probably about what that equated to. So that's fairly well done. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get the opportunity to chat to the drivers in tonight's post-race debrief. And we'll start off, we'll do them a little bit out of order here tonight, but it's the man who started on pole position and comes home inside a P2. Trans-Tasman meets in the Lobs Esports sandwich, Mads. It was up there, the car was quick and you're able to sort of stick there, but gee, that 94 machine, it's got some long run pace on it, hasn't it? There's just something different about the way that he's driving the car. He's finding something.
Yeah, absolutely. Jared's been, clearly the class of the field this year. His pace, particularly in the races, is pretty unrivaled, to be honest. So, firstly, congratulations to Jared. That was yet another fantastic drive. But from the 77 VRS Camaro, just really good to be up there in the podium spots. It's been a while since we've kind of been up the front of the field and had genuine pace in the races. So this week to put it together with a pole in qualifying and then run P2, it's probably the best I've driven in a little while. So good feeling.
In terms of things, that's obviously what you guys were looking for. Keep that confidence rolling. Last time out was the fuel save strategy. This time out, you put it out there and put it right back up there. It looks like you're starting to come back towards the front. There was a little bit missing right at the back at the start of the year, but now you're just pecking away. Each week, it's just a little bit. You're starting to get a little bit closer to those guys up the front again.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, a lot to learn with this car. We probably got off a little bit slower than what we wanted to in terms of not only driving knowledge and technique, but also setup knowledge and a direction to go. We're probably still a little bit lost with car setup, but at least we've got a few different directions now at, high speed, low speed, bumpy, etc. So the pace is coming. Obviously, some of my teammates have been there the last few rounds, so we're seeming to get it together. And on that note, a massive shout out, particularly to Josh Anderson and Brady Myers. They did a fair bit of setup work this week, and we're kind of the guys who put the groundwork in to begin the week, and we kept going that direction. So massive shout out to those guys. They didn't quite get the result they were after tonight, but were a massive part in putting my car up on the podium.
Yeah, and certainly in terms of that qualifying performance as well, mate. So you get the opportunity to sit back, enjoy this one, and celebrate first pole position of the season. And there might be many more on the way. Finally, who would you like to give a thank you and a shout out to before we let you go?
Look, on my car, VRS, we certainly had the data smoking this week off the VRS website, using plenty of it to try and learn off each other, which paid dividends. Factory One, Kirapak, Super Cheap Auto, and Penrite, as well as TP Race Design. So lots of businesses and partners on my car supporting as always, and look forward to the next round and also getting out there in the real world shortly as well.
All right, mate. Best of luck with that one, and off to Road America next time out on July the 16th. Confidence levels in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, thanks guys. Yeah, I mean, Road America is typically a good track for us. So nice run tonight to get on the podium. We'll keep that ball rolling, and thank you. Look forward to watching this one back.
All right, thank you very much for your time, ladies and gentlemen. Madison Down finishes out a second spot here tonight. Mr. Sandman Clark has got tonight's third place finisher alongside of him.
Yeah, we catch up with Andrew. Congratulations, mate. P3. Good little battle with you and Madison down in those dying stages. Those Lobs cars looked pretty good tonight, mate. How did it feel from the seat?
Yeah, it was a really interesting round for us. I'm really glad to see some of my hard work being able to use real life AI tools and implement them into the sim this weekend. So that was a really interesting sort of turn of pace for us, and yeah, exploited the setup a little bit more than we probably would have using those tools. So yeah, no, it was pretty good. I probably underdrove where the car deserved to be today. So Spa was a bit of a bogey track for me though. So happy to get that monkey off my back and yeah, press forward for the rest of the season.
I was going to say, mate, a bogey track and you walk away with a P3, I'd be pretty happy with that.
Well, it's just when you see how good Phil Cell is, and it's just tiny bits everywhere, and you just know that's that little bit of discipline he has, not cooking the front tire into these long radius corners. There's still a lot of work for me to go getting to that level.
The cars looked good, and I noticed it throughout the broadcast in qualifying, the amount of curb that Jared was getting just into that last chicane before the start-finish line. The amount of curb that him and yourself, and it looks like most of the Lobs cars, the cars looked so good and looked really confident taking the amount of curb that you guys were taking.
Yeah, no, it was once we sort of started playing with the setup and the plug-in, yeah, it just started handling curves really well. So I don't think I've ever driven a car where you can even touch that curb on this new track layout, new track update, and you could demolish it, and it just sort of bounced twice on the droop on the right rear, and you just ran a bit of maintenance throttle, and it turned in like nothing had happened for the next corner. It was, I reckon that was my biggest strength, was that last sector. It kept me in the race.
Yeah, it was impressive to watch, and you could see just the attitude of the car and throughout the broadcast. It looked really good, and I did some practice around here. I was never game enough to even get near that curb, but the way that you guys were mounting it made it look real easy. But mate, we move on from here now and heading into the next week. You said you sort of, this was your bogey track. I guess you start looking ahead and seeing how the rest of the season's going to play out for you and start getting ready for the next round.
Yeah, I'm still a little bit behind because I just don't get that much time to do practice races between these rounds. So I'm sort of, you probably saw it, a little bit tense driving out there. I can put a lap together in qualifying. That sort of pressure doesn't get to me, but just managing these tires in this low downforce car, I just haven't quite done enough yet on my end to really get to where Phil Cell is, but I'm going to keep pushing regardless.
And your thoughts on Road America? Is it a track you enjoy?
Yeah, it's quite a fun track because, yeah, typically you get a good overcut and then some good drafting battles, some good overtaking opportunities. So that should be quite a cracker race, I think.
We'll let you go and celebrate with the team. Good job, mate, tonight. But before we let you go, is there anyone that you want to thank for tonight?
Yeah, I just want to thank Whitey's Pies for backing us this season and for their support. And yeah, just to you guys, the commentary team, the race control for putting on such a cracking event. Yeah, thank you guys. Look forward to the next one.
All the best, mate. Well done. Go back and enjoy it. And we'll catch up with you next time when we head to Road America.
Sounds good, fellas.
There you go, Scotty. And now you're going to catch up with his teammate. Tell you what, this bloke hasn't done too bad for 2025, has he? Jared Philcell, tonight's winner.
Mate, well, when do we start adding bags of sand to the back end? Do we need to get the leg weights out? What do we got to do to stop you from winning at this point in time? Because right now, everyone talks about it. It's just a 10th here. It's a 10th there. He's just doing something better with the car all around the world, across the board. The data looks good, the lap times look good, and then you get into the tyres. You're running the best speeds in the field, but you're looking after the tyre. You're managing the race the best as well. What's it going to take at this point? Because again, what are we, 5 out of 6 races? You've had this thing in victory lane. Qualifying obviously didn't go your way tonight, so one step back for the competition. But that margin at the top is starting to get a little bit smaller as well.
Oh, yeah, I like the advantage that I've got at the moment, but tonight was quite poorly executed on my behalf. Qualifying, there was definitely a lot more in it, but I'm just not sure. I just didn't click with quali. That change of the temp kind of threw me off a little bit, and I improved every run, but obviously didn't improve enough for the last run. I was just being a little bit conservative, but nothing wrong with P2 and being up the front, so no, I'm definitely happy to come away with with another win. That's I like this track, and this car was a little bit of a struggle, but as Gilly mentioned, this is the first round that we've used our AI setup development tool. So thanks to the team in the background for working on it all early season, and especially when the car came out, it's really paid dividends.
Yeah, just a little bit of something else. I guess that's the marker on the side there, the Philly GPT. Richie jumped in the chat to make some talk about how you guys have been using that a little bit of late, mate. Off to Road America next. There's a strong margin going your way at the moment. Is it already starting to become just think about it, or is it just look, put the laps in, turn the laps out in the racetrack and let the results speak for themselves? We're not even going to think about championship until we're right. Maybe the last couple rounds is where we're really starting to think about those numbers.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you remember last season where I had 2 DNFs. That can really bottle your season up. So take it race by race at the moment. Once Enduros come around and we get through them, we'll just evaluate where we're at towards the end of the season. So there's no point looking at the championship at the moment. The point system's made so then you can't really just run away with it. So it's fine.
In terms of things, next trip from Circuit Spa-Francorchamps, we jump our way off and over to Road America. Historically, there's been a fair bit of drama go down. The big thing is we talk about drama. Spa's had it, Road America's had it. There's a few tracks on the schedule that tend to bring about those moments. But Road America, confidence level heading into there's got to be quite high just with the consistency of the car at the moment.
Yeah, we'll really maximise our testing time with the AI tool, so that we can really be smart with our preparation there, and work out what to do. This week threw us a bit of a curveball with the weird fuel limit. I'm not sure why that was thought about. I wasn't a fan of it, but I don't really think it spiced too much up. Just made an extra stop. So. I'm looking forward to Road America. I like that track. It's historically gone well there. There'll be probably a tiny bit of tow, but I don't think it'll make or break the race like it would have in the old car, because that was that was an egregious amount of tow in the old one. So yeah.
Right, finally, who would you like to get a thank you out to for getting it done for you guys here tonight?
Oh, obviously, Whitey's Pies. I had a little bit of a siesta before tonight. I had a nap. Haven't had dinner, so I'd absolutely love to pound one of their pies into the core of the earth right now. I'm so hungry. I need to eat.
Mate, congratulations, and I'm sure we'll be talking in the future with the way this season's going, mate. Yeah, congratulations on the result here tonight. We'll see you again next time.
No worries. Thanks for the broadcast as well. You guys do an amazing job.
Much appreciated, brother. Righto, that is going to wrap us up here tonight from the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. But now we start to head off onto what has culturally been the final round of the season. Last year, it was actually this track that we've just come from here in Belgium, and off to Road America next time out. She's fast, she's flowing, and we get into this age-old debate, Sandman. What actually is a turn? Because there's several of them on that track map that are flag marshals posts.
Yes. I won't go into too much details. Obviously, there's a number of racetracks around the world, especially in America, that they do like to have that sort of problem. But nevertheless, it's a great racetrack. It'll put on great racing, and already can't wait to get there.
Righto, if you're watching along at home, ladies and gentlemen, that is not the end of racing action for the Logitech Pro Invitational Series. It is for the V8 portion of our racing categories. Well, next Friday night, we are going to be heading back to Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, this time in GT3 hardware. The 24 Hours of Spa heads there in the real world this weekend. Next Friday night, the 4th of July. Well, it's nearly the right day to head to an American racetrack, 4th of July. Feels a little bit funny, but we'll be heading to Spa nonetheless. It's going to be 3 hours worth of GT3 racing for Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. What will they bring us in terms of the new aero and tyre model? We've seen the Acuras be powerful thus far throughout the series. The McLarens are one of the cars to beat. The Mercedes has come back in force. I actually don't think there's a Mercedes registered in the field, but the other one to think about is the Mustang. Who is going to have the best preparation for that race? Find out next Friday night from 7:45 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Sam, thanks for joining me once again. You and your pretty old suit over there in the corner. You gave us some tracks next time out. We're going to have a think about. Is it pizzas? Is it pies? What do you think we test our drivers on for a little bit of insider info next race out at Road America?
don't know, mate. You might have to give me some homework to do before we come back for Road America. I'll have to think about that one.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you again in the very near future. This has been another round of the Logitech Pro Invitational Series for the V8 Pro tonight. Congratulations to Jared Filsell for another victory. Again, we'll see you next time out next Friday night for the Gamesman GT Pro, who will reign supreme in the next round from there.